It is 6 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show on 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Billy Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Billy, it's a great day, but it ain't yesterday.
No,
and my morning started out a lot better with some Doug's Diner.
That was fantastic. It was so much fun seeing everybody. We had breakfast with artists after the show. That was
that's
so
right.
nice. She had enough time to hang out with us. It was wonderful to see her. Chatted with Q, my Cure fan friend. Got to talk to Eric, Greg, Dan. There were a whole bunch of other people that were there. We appreciate each and every one of you carving out time to come out and spend time with us. And dude, had the Black Betty. That was awesome.
That was
awesome.
Unique.
That was really good.
The Black Betty is the burger with the peanut butter and jelly and green chili.
Yeah, that was unique. That was different. That was really good. That's a really good one.
So,
you had the crepes. How are the crepes?
Delicious.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Lovely. And
good.
This morning, I just have a stale cup of coffee.
Yeah, I had a little bit of cottage cheese rolling out of the house this morning. I went, this isn't as much fun.
This isn't as much fun as Doug's Diner.
Oh, yeah, this stinks. So.
In addition to a lot of fans and listeners showing up, which was just fantastic and a ton of fun, I want to especially thank a lot of the community leaders who swung by. Lisa Frizzell, Anthony Hartsook, John Fabricatori, Mark Baisley, Abe Layden, George Brockler, Ted Harvey, Deborah Flora. Man, it was just a nonstop party for 4 hours.
It was the who's who as far as newsmakers here in town. Everything's going on. We talked about the special session, and also I did address who's the leader of the Colorado GOP and
who's your chairman.
Yeah, and talked with Deb Flora, returning to her old stomping grounds and going to be doing the March for Kids, the very first March for Kids ever this weekend in DC. And so they're going to be. I think it's the I forgot building they're in front of. I had the notes over here somewhere.
The Daughters of the American Revolution.
Oh, there we go. Thank you. The DAR building. And so it's really neat. So it's going to be the first ever March for Kids. Probably going to end up being the second largest march behind the March for Life that happens annually. But you can get in on the ground floor and check out Deb this weekend. It's kind of cool.
It was great. Absolutely fantastic. And we've got a show you're not going to want to miss. Billy, I got some words for DJT on this abortion policy that he has.
I have been curious about your take on that. I was like, wait a minute here. This is different and unique. Although, from where I sit, not unexpected.
Yeah.
Not unexpected for him to take not one, but both sides of an issue. Yeah. That's pretty much what he does. So, yeah.
And we'll get into your thoughts on that. And believe me, I have some thoughts on it in this hour. In the 7 o'clock hour, Rose Puglisi is going to join us. She's the House Minority Leader, top Republican in the state House down at the Colorado State Capitol on this special session. We'll hear from her. Aaron Lee, the great parents' rights activist, exposing some curriculum that's taking place in first grade social studies classes.
Interesting and curious.
In the state of Colorado. And then Paul Lundeen, the top Republican in the Senate, joins us during the 9 o'clock hour. Give us some insight in the special session as well. Since I'm getting down there, things aren't going that well in the special session.
I'm guessing not. Probably not, because the Democrats aren't necessarily trying to solve the problem. Surprise. Also, hope everybody can join us on either the YouTubes, the Rundles, the Twitters, the whatever the hell it is.
We're back to looking good online.
And look at this. I got the red shirt on, kind of orange, just got a blue. We're kind of thematic here today. It's
and then there's spaced in the background next to Adam.
It's fantastic. Yeah, Adam does great with the graphics. You have to check out some of the graphics and stuff he does later. And we've got some calls coming in on Zoom and et cetera. And Adam did yeoman's work yesterday back here. Pulling extra duty. And of course, Kelly and everybody else that came out, Mark and Joel and everyone that came out and said hi to us from the station, which was really nice to have that support, because we go out there and we just get to sit there and feed our faces. And there's so many other people that put in some long hours in order to make sure that happens. So we appreciate that. And it was nice to have him do extra work yesterday. It was cool.
So give us a call. Phone lines will be open today. 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971, or text us at 720-892 720-892-6757. That's 720-892-6757. We'll get to all the news and commentary in a second. But first, let's check in on the Blake Olson news and commentary. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, Jeff and Billy. Great seeing you guys.
It was so much fun.
That was a blast.
That was great. And,
awesome.
And it was so much fun to have some listeners come over and say, "This is Blake," and talk to you, because you are a star, my friend. You are.
No, this is that fat guy that makes me mad.
Oh, we appreciate
you doing? Now, there are some great listeners, man.
Yeah.
I love you mentioned and talked about all of them. Met a listener named Mark. Hopefully he calls you guys, because he loves you guys. He loves listening to you, and had a good conversation with him. And he just dropped by and he's like, I'm not sure if I'm going to call. I say, call those guys, man. They want to talk to you. So that was a lot of fun.
And you were right about the biscuit, man. You were absolutely right about that biscuit.
I'm so glad you guys liked it,
dude,
man.
Okay.
I was so happy I got to eat one later after I left.
At one point, they brought over the big pig omelet that we kicked off the day with, and Jeff is going to town on the omelet side. And I did some of the omelet, but I grabbed that biscuit and started putting the homemade jelly on top. And
I did see you putting the jelly on it.
In fact, after we had done what we could to the omelet on the air, we were moving the plate out of the way, and I'm like, no, I'm taking the rest of the biscuit. So the rest of the biscuit sat in front of me, and I ate the rest of the biscuit later on.
So awesome. Lindsay told me how many gallons of jam they have to make a week.
Oh, really?
How many?
40 to 50 gallons of jam, fresh made per week. Her husband helps her with it.
Wow, we were talking to her off there after the show, and she talked about how here in a couple of weeks they're headed down to Palisade, because they have a specific farmer that they work with, and they grab peaches. And she says, this is us going down there with, it is a carload caravan. They don't have like a large delivery truck. That's not how they do it. They go down there, bunch of cars go down, load up the back of the car, just like you and I would at the store, Walmart or at Sam's Club. And then they, hoof it back up here, and then start, pitting them and crushing them, and then making sure you're ready for, but they do it hand delivered. They go down and pick the peaches from the farmer here in Colorado themselves. They grab them by hand. It's fantastic. They're a great place.
No, that is so cool. Well, everyone can enjoy it up and down the Front Range at Doug's Diner. That was a great experience. Great to see you guys. 60 and clear outside. It was beautiful. I walked outside about an hour ago, and the stars were out. It's just gorgeous. Expecting a high of 93 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story.
You are interviewing me, Dana, because I respect the American people enough to sit down for an interview.
I appreciate that.
Kamala Harris has been the nominee for 3 weeks. She hasn't sat down for a real interview.
Believe me, we are asking. You're not going to get a disagreement there.
But the point is, Dana, you've got me for 15 minutes or however long you have me. We should be talking about public policies that matter.
That's right. And Kamala Harris has agreed to do a sit-down interview with Dana Bash of CNN, with VP candidate Tim Walz at her side.
Because we know there's a golden rule. Mind your own damn business. Mind your own damn business.
Once again, as Jeff said, that isn't the golden rule, and most of us know that except for him. But so he'll be sitting at her side. Harris hasn't done a press conference or like serious interview in 40 days, nearly 40 days. And she has no walls, ladder factories by her side for the parachute. What a joke. J.D. Vance sat down with Dana recently, as you just heard it, and he crushed it.
But I believe importantly that President Trump is right, that she's a chameleon. She pretends to be one thing in front of one audience. She pretends to be something different in front of another audience. She only speaks to voters behind a teleprompter. Everything is scripted. She doesn't have her policy positions out there. She hasn't answered why she wanted to ban fracking, but now she doesn't. She wanted to fund police, but now she doesn't.
Because it's a Marxist ideology. And if you go back 3 or 4 years and you look at her statements, even running for office, she was raising her hand for every bad. You can't have any personal insurance, personal life insurance, or any form of insurance. You have to be in a big government pool. That's Marxism. In other words, if you want to have insurance, you worked hard, you want to pay more and have a great insurance plan, health insurance. She doesn't want you to have that. This was only a few years ago. That's where she's at. Her father is a Marxist professor, And our country will never be ready for that. Our country won't be able to have that.
DJT on with Dr. Phil this week on Merit TV. Colorado lawmakers expected to vote on 3 bills today in a special session to tackle soaring property taxes. Republican State Rep Rose Puglisi says the votes should eliminate some anxiety.
This gives certainty to them that they will have some additional property tax relief without having to wait and see what happens in November.
The compromise reached with the two groups backing Propositions 50 and 108 are among the bills slated to be voted on. Those call for deeper tax cuts than what was enacted earlier this year. If the bills pass the House, they head to the Senate. California lawmakers approve AB 1840, which allows for illegal immigrants to receive up to $150,000 down on homes. Wow. Called it they're calling it the California Dream for All loan program, which will provide up to 20% down payment assistance up to $150,000. This is the excrement that Greasy Gavin Newsom typically backs, but is yet to commit to signing the bill into law. Now, here's Greasy Gavin after Republicans combated Biden's border bill.
What the Republican Party is doing, what Donald Trump is doing. And this is hidden in plain sight. He sent out a tweet or some truth, whatever, saying, kill it. And these guys are so weak. It's so pathetically weak, this Republican Party. And the new speaker said, oh, yes, sir. What else would you like us to do? We don't care about America. We don't care about our freedoms and liberties. We care about politics exclusively at the expense of the American people, because all we care about is winning for winning's sake. That is shameful.
Now, Newsom's auntie, Nancy Pelosi, never seen before footage of Pelosi, as far as I can tell, on January 6th, because this time she's walking down the hallway with all the deep state suits behind her, filmed by her daughter once again. Remember, she was in the SUV earlier when they had this video. Now it shows her once again admitting that it was her fault that the Capitol wasn't secure on January 6th. Again, she says, quote, we're calling the National Guard now. They should have been here to start out. We have totally failed. We need to take some responsibility for not moving too secure. You can hear this. There you hear it there. Sounds like the Clydesdales walking down the hall, and she's going. Have you seen that, Jeff?
Yeah, I saw it this morning, actually. So,
yeah.
And they're gonna, prosecute Trump again. You got Jack Smith bringing up all those charges that he was responsible for January 6th, and
yep. And here we go.
Yeah. And to Lauren Boebert's point, she tweeted this out. They couldn't kill him, so they're going to prosecute him again. Here come the charges.
Here we go again. And he's still a sitting duck, as far as I'm concerned, as far as assassination attempts. Again, we'll just pray for everyone, actually, who's running. I mean, because it is wild, especially on the Republican side. News brought to you by Lair Fireplace and Patio, Denver's premier source for everything fireplace and patio and grills, locally owned and operated since 1954. Online at lairfireplacepatio.com. And tomorrow, oh man, we have college football. North Dakota State, the Bison coming into Boulder, take on the Buffaloes. The Bison and the Buffaloes tomorrow. And Thursday night, college football. It's going to be awesome as they prepare for that. 57 Centennial, 56 in Lakewood, 60 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue. Oh, wait a minute. It's Wednesday. Do the Humpty Hump. Come on, do the Humpty Hump. Do the hump day hurdle. Here we go. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Sunny and warm. Temperatures reaching a low 90s today. There's a very small chance of an isolated gusty thunderstorm this evening, and lows tonight, lower 60s. It'll be cooler Thursday, sunny, low 80s. 50s Thursday night, mid to upper 80s Friday. Highs will be in the 80s to near 90 for Labor Day weekend. Isolated thunderstorms Sunday and Monday. Weather sponsored by branchplanning.com. Secure your future retirement with a reliable income stream annuities can provide. Guaranteed payments giving you peace of mind. Get your complimentary review at branchplanning.com or call 303-219-0088. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
All right, question I got for our listeners. I would love to hear from you all. Text in on the show, 720-892-6757, or give us a call at 303-696-1971. Do you think Donald Trump is waffling on the sanctity of life? Here's Vance over the weekend.
Let's talk about another big issue. It was talked about at the Democratic National Convention. It's being talked about on the campaign trail. Abortion.
Sure.
Democrats made the case this week and beyond this week that Donald Trump, if elected, will impose a federal ban on abortion if he wins. Now, Donald Trump says he won't, but can you commit, Senator, sitting right here with me today, that if you and Donald Trump are elected, that you will not impose a federal ban on abortion?
I can absolutely commit that, Kristen. And Donald Trump has been as clear about that as possible. I think it's important to step back and say, what has Donald Trump actually said on the abortion question, and how is it different from what Kamala Harris and the Democrats have said? Donald Trump wants to end this culture war over this particular topic. If California wants to have a different abortion policy from Ohio, then Ohio has to respect California and California has to respect Ohio. Donald Trump's view is that we want the individual states and their individual cultures and their unique political sensibilities to make these decisions, because we don't want to have a nonstop federal conflict over this issue. The federal government ought to be focused on getting food prices down, getting housing prices down, issues, of course, where Kamala Harris has been a total disaster. So I think Donald Trump is right. We want the federal government to focus on these big economic and immigration questions. Let the states figure out their own abortion policy.
Let me just follow up with you a little bit on that point, because I've been talking to Republicans, including Senator Lindsey Graham just last week, who've made it very clear that if Donald Trump is elected, if you are elected, they will continue to press this point. Senator Graham said to me, I'm going to keep saying that there should be a federal ban. If such a piece of legislation landed on Donald Trump's desk, would he veto it?
I think it'd be very clear he would not support it. I mean, he said that explicitly.
It?
Yeah, I mean, if you're not supporting it as the president of the United States, you fundamentally have to veto it.
So he would veto a federal abortion ban?
I think he would. He said that explicitly that he would. And
I don't
again,
think he's ever said explicitly he would. He said that to you?
Lindsey Graham, Kristen, I would be surprised. I mean, again, I need to see the context on what Lindsey Graham said, because Lindsey Graham himself has not advocated a federal abortion ban. Lindsey Graham has advocated a federal minimum standard. Now, to be clear, that is not Donald Trump's view. Donald Trump disagrees with Lindsey Graham on this, but no Republican, at least no Republican with any reasonable power, is saying that we should have a complete national abortion ban. I haven't heard that from any of my colleagues. And to be clear, Donald Trump, I think, has staked his position and made it very explicit. He wants this to be a state decision. States are going to make this determination themselves.
Okay, so strong emphasis on states. States can make the decision. If California wants to kill babies at 9 months gestation, they can. If Kansas or Nebraska doesn't want to do that, they don't have the requirement to do that. We're going to get rid of these endless culture wars at the federal level, nonstop federal conflicts they want to end. What's interesting to me about all this is I was at the National March for Life when Donald Trump spoke. It was a big historic moment. In fact, we
First
were
one ever.
we were the university that led the March for Life. Colorado Christian University was the university that led the March for Life that year. We were at the very front. We got to carry the big sign in front of tens of thousands of people to go celebrate. And it was a great moment. And so it's Donald Trump's first term, 2016 to 2020. Donald Trump shows up, speaks at the National March for Life. Big moment. We get U.S. Supreme Court justices across to bring down Roe v. Wade. Here's Donald Trump at the National March for Life.
Well, thank you very much. And thank you, Jeannie. It is my profound honor to be the first president in history to attend the March for Life. We're here for a very simple reason: to defend the right of every child, born and unborn, to fulfill their God-given potential.
Defend every child.
For 47 years, Americans of all backgrounds have traveled from across the country to stand for life. And today, as President of the United States, I am truly proud to stand with you.
I'm sorry. How do you get from defend every life to, well, California, you could go kill the baby if you want.
Yeah. And the weird part is that J.D. Vance said that he hasn't heard any of his colleagues talking about the idea of a national abortion ban now.
Which is just wrong.
Well, the thing is that Trump might not have used those words, but he's giving that impression. Maybe J.D. Vance just hasn't talked to his running mates. Maybe that's it. Maybe they haven't had the discussion yet.
And I want to provide some depth and context on this, okay?
Yeah.
I'm not going anywhere. DJT is the guy for me on so many things, including this issue. He is far better than Kamala Harris and the Democrats. Democrats had an abortion operation outside of the DNC.
Yeah.
All right. They did the baby killing right outside there. All right. So the idea that somehow I'm drifting over to Kamala Harris land.
Yeah. No, you're
not at all.
No.
Okay. I'm going to be 100% DJT all the way through November for a whole host of reasons.
Yeah.
This being, he is still better than Kamala Harris on this. He's better than Kamala Harris on the economy, on the border, on the military. Great interview with Hugh Hewitt prior to our show talking about that, about all the problems we're going to have under a Harris administration with our military. So for all the reasons, I'm still with Donald Trump. But this is the core policy issue for me.
Yeah.
And this is something I've noticed, and it's an element within the Republican Party, and I'm going to talk about it.
Yeah. Good.
Okay. This is something I've seen at the campaign strategy level over and over and over again. So when you go behind the scenes, when you go into the rooms where there's a conference table and there's a whiteboard and they're trying to figure out how to win these, there is an element of campaign strategists within the Republican Party that think you got to jettison these issues entirely in order to be victorious at the ballot box. And I love DJT, but there are times when he lends his ear to kind of the more progressive area where I go, gosh, you're making a mistake. All right. So I'll give you a few examples. It's not just this.
Yeah.
I think on COVID, he tended to lend an ear a little bit too much to the let's shut it down. Let's give the health people that are not elected a lot of power in this. Let's rush the vaccine. I don't agree with all that stuff. I think he lended a little bit too much to the progressives. On spending, Medicare, Social Security, I'm not going to cut any of those, right? Those types of things. I think he tends to lean a little bit into the progressive area. On tariffs, I think he tends to lean a little bit into the progressive area. I don't like those. And I think when he tends to give them credence, he fails, in my opinion, as a leader. And what concerns me about this, okay, about the abortion issue with Donald Trump, is you are never you are never going to be pro-choice enough to siphon off any amount of the radical pro-choice Democrats out there to be palatable to them. You got to be 100% in their camp, 100% in their camp in order for them to like you or support you. They are not going to go, well, I agreed with Donald Trump on everything, on the economy, on the border, but it's that abortion thing that I really wasn't going to agree with him on until he started to waffle a little bit and go states' rights, states' rights, states' rights. To say we're going to defend every single life and every single life is sacred, and then a few years later go, well, California can kill him. You're never going to be able to jump all the way into that category or siphon them off unless you're all the way there with the pro-choicers. So I don't get the electoral strategy. What this communicates to me is what I absolutely hate about our political leaders is when they go, okay, on principal issues, I'm going to listen to the way the polls are going as opposed to being bold and strong. And there's absolutely a message, in my opinion, that you can stand on the sanctity of life and the protection of innocent life and still win. And there are plenty of examples of this. Okay. This is a very important division. And Lila Rose got into this yesterday. She's a great pro-life leader. So I'm going to give her the credit for this. There is a difference between voters on ballot initiatives on abortion issues and candidates on abortion issues. Okay. So while voters may tend to go, okay, we want to allow abortion on ballot initiatives, they're still fine electing pro-life leaders. They did this in Florida with Ron DeSantis. They did it in Ohio with Mike DeWine. They've done it in other states as well, where they will, yes, lean towards on a ballot initiative, allowing abortion to happen, but still elect pro-life Republicans that even sign bills. Georgia's the other one. Brian Kemp signed bills, heartbeat bills, restricting abortion. They will still elect those candidates. So he doesn't have to believe this idea that abortion is a losing issue for Republicans. It's not.
I would disagree. I think it is a losing issue. I think that what Donald Trump is doing is he sees that the majority of Americans, and especially active voters, disagree with the policy of a national abortion ban. And I would be curious about Ms. Rose and talking to her about whether or not she still thinks that holds true post-Dobbs. Because pre-Dobbs, I think you're right that a pro-life candidate can win, while a ballot issue does not, as far as getting abortion banned, because when you were under the umbrella of Roe versus Wade, that pro-life candidate can't enact the type of bans and changes that some of those candidates have been able to do. We know that there is a lot more Democrat support for candidates in Florida right now because of the abortion bill, in part, that Ron DeSantis signed. The heartbeat bill at 6 weeks. That's part of it. They are seeing some erosion in some hardcore areas. I mean, there was, what was it? Oh, God, the Villages. Yeah, the retirement community down there. That is like super, super Trump land. They had 500 or so people show up a couple of weeks ago for a Harris event. That's crazy. And that's in part because of this.
You think that that's such an important issue to the electorate that out of all the other issues, so they're willing to go, I agree with Donald Trump on the border. I agree with Donald Trump on the economy. I agree with Donald Trump on foreign policy. But he is not going to get my vote because he is semi-pro-life.
I don't think it's a singular issue, because here's the thing is,
I don't think it's a singular issue either.
What you're doing is you're making the assumption, I agree with Trump on border. I agree with Trump on economy. Right. I agree with, they may favor him slightly. I don't think it's, I'm all in, Trump's right, Harris wrong. I don't think it's that perception. That's where that movement isn't made. Those people that think Donald Trump is all right on the economy, 100% right on the border, 100% right on China, 100% right on Russia, they're not moving. They're not going anywhere. They're solid. It's the people that think, yeah, he's got some good ideas. Yeah, I think he might be better on these things, but that becomes a tipping point. And it's just like our caller last week. He didn't understand why all of the females he's talking to in his community put that as their number one issue. And he's sitting there saying the border is more important. The economy is more important. And he's misunderstanding This is a singular
Billy,
issue for females.
Do you think this tact is going to win them over, though? You think that they were going, okay, I'm a waffling on Donald Trump. Now he's going states' rights issues. He's not talking about the sanctity of life, and they're going to come over?
No, I don't, because I think he's already burnt them. And that's the issue.
I don't think. I mean, I'm not sure about that either.
Because he's burnt them already. He's already said he's happy for overturning Roe versus Wade.
He
takes credit for that. I know, but now he's trying to backtrack on that, and he's trying to have it both ways.
That's part of my point. That doesn't communicate.
Yeah, but
you're not going to win people over on that.
But again, he's not a candidate. He's a populist. He is the exact candidate that is going to do what you hate. Lick their finger, put it in the wind, and go that direction. It's exactly what he's going to do.
On a lot of other issues, he doesn't.
He
He's been very clear. That guy was out against Iraq way before everybody else was.
What do you mean by out against Iraq?
When we were even debating the idea of going into Iraq, he was against it. Hillary Clinton,
not necessarily.
Hillary Clinton was the one saying that we need to go into Iraq. George Bush, all that stuff.
No, he did that post-invasion afterwards. It wasn't pre. From what I understand of the timeline, it wasn't. He was not out there being anti-Iraq early on. He did it once things changed and turned because he's a populist. That's what he does. And that's why he had the idea of the wall. It became popular with his base, so he went with the idea of the wall. That's what he does. You guys have chosen a populist candidate.
I've seen elements of his leadership where he is out there because he believes passionately in something. I don't. I think this type of waffling is problematic for evangelical and Catholic voters that are willing to. It lowers the energy. So this is part of the problem.
It lowers the participation rate. That's the issue.
Yeah.
Less of them may vote.
So they're trying to do this calculation. They're going, okay, if we go this route, we're going to try to maybe win over some people that may be going towards Harris because we're going to kind of blunt the knife, so to speak, on abortion issues. But Catholics and evangelicals that appreciated his passion, stood up at the March for Life, delivered the fall of Roe v. Wade, all that stuff. That is the reason why we support him in the strength at the strength level that we typically do. And when you start to waffle, that's a problem. Now, am I going all the way over to Kamala Harris? No, absolutely, but absolutely not. But I also think that giving into this idea that embracing and protecting the sanctity of human life is a losing political issue just isn't true.
Yeah, it is. It is losing.
No, it is not.
Yes, it is. All the polls, everything else show the majority of Americans support abortion rights. Not as far as the Democrats take them, but they're in no way, shape, or form close to the idea.
9 months. 9 months.
Hang on, though. Wait, hang on.
Unrestricted.
No, again, that's fine. We can talk about where restrictions are, but the issue is no abortions. That's what the American people are vehemently against, the idea of a national ban. And that's where the GOP is trying to tack. They're trying to go that direction. Donald Trump understands that is a difficult thing to do and probably going to alienate a lot of voters. And you talked about the idea of a lot of the Catholics, a lot of the evangelicals. You're right, except for the Catholics and the evangelicals that have had this issue impact their life. They'll still be in the pews on Sunday, but I guarantee you behind the scenes, they've made a different choice. I've seen it. They have. And I'm not saying it's universal, but I'm saying anecdotally, what I've seen is they make different choices. When it comes down to directly impacting their family, many times they make a different choice.
We'll get back into, I want to cover some of other Trump's speeches at the National March for Life, but give me a call and text me on this. Does this bother you as a conservative that Donald Trump maybe and J.D. Vance are taking a step back from embracing the fullness of the sanctity of life, which has been a Republican Party platform, an anchor for the definition of what it means to a Republican for years? Or is this something that should be left up to the states? 303-696-1971 or text us on the 710 KNUS app. And is this a politically losing issue for Republicans? Embracing the idea that human life is sacred, supported, and the government should protect it. Is that a losing issue for Republicans? I don't think it is. Look, I want to talk to you about my friend Dan Caplis and Dan Caplis Law. I've known Dan for well over a decade. He's pro-life. He's pro-families, pro-America. That matters because who you choose as a lawyer sends a strong message to everyone involved in the case about your values. So if you got there and hire some guy you just saw on a billboard or a bus sign that goes by, well, you're saying a lot in the case, and it matters that you have somebody that shares your values. Dan Caplis is the son of a police officer. He's a former seminarian who's dedicated the last 40 years of his life to helping people who are hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. Dan Caplis is so trusted that he's the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. Dan Caplis Law is a serious firm for serious cases, but they're not just reserved for the rich and wealthy. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. If you need Dan's help, give him a call at 303-770-5551. That's 303-770-5551, or hit dancaplisLaw.com. That's Dan, C-A-P-L-I-S law.com. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Well, Billy, it's 6:42 on a
Yes.
Wednesday morning. We've spun up the text messages, which are great.
Yes, we have.
Look, Dobbs fell in June of 2022. At that point, pro-life law, essentially trigger laws, had been signed in by Brian Kemp, Mike DeWine, and Ron DeSantis. They all won the re-elections that November. All right? This is an important distinction. I understand that pro-life conservatives are struggling with regards to ballot initiatives. A part of that is the massive funding disparities that take place in this. Okay. We were just doing a big analysis on this yesterday. The amount of money pouring in on the pro-choice side versus the pro-life side is night and day. Okay. But when it comes to candidates, pro-life candidates are still getting elected and reelected in their commitment to the sanctity of life. Here was Donald Trump at the March for Life in 2020, I think.
I notified Congress that I would veto any legislation that weakens pro-life policies or that encourages the destruction of human life.
Strong commitment to vetoing anything that threatens human life. And then in last week, he puts out this tweet: my administration will be great for women and their reproductive rights. What is happening here? Is he changing in order to win elections because he believes that there is an element of the electorate out there that just says, well, I'm willing to go with Donald Trump, but it's his commitment to the sanctity of life that keeps me from supporting him. And somehow we need to appeal to them. And yes, we can water down our commitment to the sanctity of life because the Catholics and the evangelicals will still stay with us because Kamala Harris is a total nutcase on this, killing babies late into gestation, even the 9-month, and pulling up an abortion van outside the DNC. So we can moderate a little bit on this, still keep Catholics and evangelicals, and maybe win over folks. Friends, this is a fundamental human life issue. This is a principal issue. And I don't think you can have states. I'm sorry, you can't have states that in one hand are killing innocent human beings and another state that are protecting them. We as a country don't allow that to happen. We tried that experiment on another major contentious social issue.
But wait, I'm
and
confused
said states'
now.
rights, states' rights, states' rights.
I'm confused because that was the celebration post Dobbs. That's the example that we have
among
after it.
some, not
among
all.
Some. That was the large majority. I would submit
Not me.
that I understand not you, but I would submit that better than 70% of the people that were out there trumpeting Dobbs said, this is exactly what we've always wanted. Put it back to the states. The people on the curvy couch on Fox News still tout that line in the morning. They don't talk about having a national abortion ban. I know
they're absolutely wrong.
But hang on. But what I'm telling you is that
I don't care if
that was
some
the
other
narrative.
person said it.
No, but that was the narrative. That was the celebration.
That was
by
among some.
A large number of them, though.
But those of us that marched in the National March for Life, you never heard that from the stage of the National March for Life.
No, I submit that. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. But the National March for Life and people that were there are a fraction of the population, not a majority of the population. You can't get a majority of the population in any of these marches. You just don't. So, yes, that is absolutely that issue. But it was sold post-Dobbs by Republicans that this is what we wanted.
Again,
we wanted it back to the stage of the vast majority.
Some of them.
The vast
I don't know if
majority
there's
of
a
them.
vast majority of them.
And I know you talk about candidates winning based on being pro-life. Who is it? Bashir. Governor of Kentucky won because his candidate was very, very pro-life. That was part of the reason that he won. In I think it's Virginia, the Democrats took control.
You mean pro-choice?
His
You
candidate
said pro-life.
No, his candidate. No, Bashir is pro-choice. The candidate running against him was very, very pro-life. Yeah. And Bashir won, beat that guy. The guy was pro-life and didn't win. The Democrats took control. I think it's the Virginia state legislature. They took both houses because Republicans said that if we continue to have both houses, we're going to enact a 15-week abortion ban. That's one of the things that allowed the Democrats to take control of the House. Those are candidates that are losing, not ballot issues. It's not a universal that pro-life candidates are absolutely going to win because they're pro-life.
Yeah, but it's not universal that they're going to lose either.
No, it's not. No, it isn't.
So
I
there's
get
this
there.
notion that somehow this is such a losing issue that if Republicans even touch it, that they're somehow going to end their political careers. Just isn't true.
Well, then why didn't everybody come out and say, yay, national abortion ban is next, post-Dobbs?
Some are. I am. I'm on a radio show talking about it.
Why wasn't that the large narrative? Why were we sold, hey, this is states' rights? This is a states' rights issue. Even Trump, for a number of months, have been saying states' rights, not national abortion ban, ever. He's never been saying I'd do a national abortion ban. He's been saying states' rights.
I disagree with the notion that he was totally against the national abortion ban, because you listen to these speeches at the National March for Life, and it gives you a very strong sense that he believes that human life begins at conception, that it is
on that day when he was talking to you
protected.
Guys. Yeah.
Right.
On that
so
day
that's
when
what we're trying to figure out here, Billy.
On that day, yeah,
so if he's going to go to the National March for Life, he's going to go to National March for Life and stand before committed pro-lifers and advocate for the sanctity of life, and then tweet out stuff like my administration will be great for their reproductive rights.
Yeah.
There's a change happening.
Yeah. And he's changed, but he supported abortion before he was against it. And now he's supporting it again.
And that, Bill, that's what I'm trying to bring up here.
That's the candidate you have.
And that's a problem.
You chose him, though.
But Bill, I'm not. But Bill, I'm trying to point out that shouldn't be good.
Well, then don't choose him, because again, he was for abortion before he was against it. So he switched. He switched beforehand. The idea switched again. Really? You're shocked that the guy that was a Democrat is now a Republican? He's on his fourth political party? Third different presidential run with three different parties.
It's a fair critique of this stuff.
Yes, it is. But again, you pick the guy that does this all the time. What did you expect when he saw the ratings? Again, he's a ratings guy. That's why he's so mad about Kamala's crowd size.
I don't agree that he does this all the time.
Oh yeah, he does.
So what other issues does he change on?
Oh, well, how about political parties? How about he's changed on abortion? He's changed things on economic policy. He's changed things on foreign policy.
Yes, even tariffs. He was against tariffs at one point.
He doesn't understand economics at that level in order to understand the tariffs. But his ideas and what he thinks happen. Yeah, he does. But that's what he does. He's a populist.
I don't think that there's strong evidence that he changes regularly on things.
I will see if I can go dig it up for you. I didn't know we were going to go this direction this way. But again, there's lots of evidence. He just says stuff that he doesn't mean all the time. All the time.
So I think that this is bad advice that he's taking. I think he would be better suited to continue to embrace the strong and right principle that human life is sacred. And we'll continue to play some. We're just up against a commercial break. You choose the news. All right. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
All right, Billy, we're getting phone calls and texts, but let's take a moment to do You Choose the News.
Yes, it's time to do a little bit of the silly stuff this morning because nobody's paying attention that is actually responsible and in charge of the station. It's why we play everybody's favorite fake radio news game show, You Choose the News. I've scoured the interwebs for moments this morning to find really dumb stories about us humans and things that we do, give them even more ridiculous headlines to play this fake radio news game show. Why? We've covered that. Nobody's paying attention. So, alrighty. Jeff Hunt, Blake Olson, here are your headlines today. Headline number 1, Parents Know Best. Headline number 2, Practice, practice, practice. Headline number 3, 20 feet high and rising. Headline number 4, Nom de plume, nom de felon. Mr. Hunt, your choice, sir.
I'm so busy on the text messages. I'm sorry, Billy.
That's fine.
You're going to have to pick one for me.
No. Okay, Blake Olson, he has deferred. Blake Olson, you get the first shot today. Which one do you choose, sir?
Number 4, the
Nom de plume or nom de felon? Nathan Thornberry, 42-year-old Marine Corps veteran from North Branch, Michigan, was taken into custody last week because of a book he recently wrote under a different name. He used a pseudonym Nathaniel Matthews to publish A Patriot Story on Amazon. A book you could get for $6.99 describes itself as, here's where things get dangerous, an eyewitness account of the events of January 6, 2021. Turns out, based on things that he wrote in the book, he was there and did some stuff he shouldn't. So now the Michigan FBI has come a-knocking and said, hey, let's talk to you about your felonies. Yes, all because we published them in a book and we want it to be famous. All right. Yes, we're going to give you a second one this morning, Blake. Parents Know Best. Practice, 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 or 20 feet high and rising.
Let's go with Parents Know Best.
Yeah, parents know best. Well, parents in Arizona claim they know best how to spend funds for their children's education, but some people in charge disagree. Why? Recently, a parent used part of their a voucher from the state to purchase educational opportunities for their child. They bought dune buggies. Yes, they bought dune buggies. Now, the Arizona State Board of Education has rejected their purchase and appeal because they say that's just stupid. This is just stop it. We've had reports of them buying kayaks, Lego sets that are valued up to $900, trampoline sessions, Broadway tickets, and much, much more. According to the Arizona Republic, Nick Sullivan, the parent who wanted the dune buggies, got an occupational therapist to testify that her kids needed to learn better, and they could do that after a trek through the desert, allowing them to engage in movement before returning to more traditional learning environments. Evidently, she has not heard about the backyard or a freaking park. So that's what she tried to do. All righty. Now, Mr. Hunt, you have the final choice this morning. Practice, 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 or 20 feet high and rising?
Let's do 20 feet high and rising.
Yes, 20 feet high and rising. Social media often features very bizarre cooking experiments, but a now viral video has gotten people a little grossed out because dude made bread while he was in flight. Yes, he brought the ingredients onto the plane with him and started making bread right there. And they're like, sir, we got some questions. Like, no, just making the bread.
Bake it? How do you get that?
He was just making the dough so far. I know. I'm not sure. So lots of questions.
I've seen there's a guy on Instagram that makes dinners in the little sinks in the bathrooms of the airplanes.
Yeah, I think you should lick the sink first. All righty, that's it. That's into You Choose the News. We got to go.
All right, we'll continue this conversation. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
It is 7 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show on 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. It's a beautiful day in the greatest country in history, gearing up for a whole nother morning of engaging discussions, critical analysis, and most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab a cup of coffee, Denver, and let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. We'll continue our conversation from the 6 o'clock hour. We've got lots of phone calls to get to. Feel free to give us a call, 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971, or text us on the 710 KNUS app. Is Donald Trump weakening his commitment to the sanctity of life? When I go back and listen to his speeches at the National March for Life, when he was the first president to speak there, very clear commitment to the universal idea that human life is sacred. Now we're talking about states' rights and the idea he's going to be the best president for women's reproductive rights. I'm making the argument that that's not a winning message because, one, you're never going to be pro-choice enough to pull in the Democrats and maybe the moderates that make that their top issue. They are all the way. And in fact, you can't even be more pro-choice than Kamala Harris. If you get to that point, you're killing toddlers. Okay, they're as far up against that line as you possibly can be. And two, to evangelicals and Catholics, that this is one of their primary issues, to not be willing to stand on the universal truth that human life begins at conception and should be sacred and protected, is trying to trade out an audience that is one that is core to your presidency and getting you elected, not the right thing to do. And I think there's evidence out there that while ballot initiatives are losing, there's plenty of Republicans that are still standing for the sanctity of life and winning in states like Georgia, Florida, and Ohio. All right, we'll get to your calls in a second. Let's check in first on the news and commentary with Blake Olson. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Jeff and Billy. 59 and sunny, expecting a high of 93 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story.
I learned, I think I was, 22 when I started that work. I learned that with the swipe of my pen, I could charge someone with the lowest level offense.
Lowest level of offense. Kamala Khan Harris has agreed to do a sit-down interview with Dana Bash of CNN, with VP candidate Tim Walz at her side, the communist in charge in Minnesota. Harris hasn't done a press conference in nearly 40 days or any serious questions, really, and She has to have no walls, ladder factories by her side for security. What a joke. JD Vance sat down with Dana recently.
You are interviewing me, Dana, because I respect the American people enough to sit down for an interview.
I appreciate that.
Kamala Harris has been the nominee for 3 weeks. She hasn't sat down for a real interview.
Believe me, we are asking. You're not going to get a disagreement there.
But the point is, Dana, you've got me for 15 minutes or however long you have me. We should be talking about public policies that matter. How are we going to lower inflation? How are we going to reduce the cost of food and housing? How are we going to close down that southern border? We've talked so little about that. We've talked a lot more about a sarcastic remark I made 3 years ago.
And speaking of Walz's Minnesota, Alpha TV asked Minnesota Democrats, what is the one thing Harris accomplished as vice president?
What is Harris's biggest accomplishment to date as vice president?
She repeated it. Anyway.
I don't know. I don't feel comfortable doing this anymore.
She's was
vice president.
She was a very good vice president.
That's an interesting question. Getting to vice president.
I have to do more research on her, honestly. I'm just glad to see a woman of color in charge for once. That's it.
I haven't followed her political career that closely.
This is a good one. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't want to do that.
Lord have mercy. DJT is being indicted again for allegedly interfering with the 2020 election. They didn't kill him, so they have to continue the lawfare. The DOJ said Tuesday's new indictment reflects the recent Supreme Court ruling that gives presidents broad immunity from criminal prosecution for official acts. Trump is accused of leading a conspiracy to overturn the election, which allegedly culminated in the U.S. Capitol riot, even though Nancy Pelosi admitted to being responsible as she walked down the hall January 6th. New video. Totally fails. You gotta take some responsibility. As she take off that face diaper, we could hear her. The Douglas County Sheriff's Office has recovered 17 stolen vehicles and arrested 11 people in response to an uptick in car thefts and garage burglaries. Police say one suspect broke into a garage while armed with a gun, while another is linked to a gunpoint carjacking. There were 33 car thefts reported in Douglas County last month alone, and investigators are working to see if the suspects having custody that they have in custody could be linked to additional cases. Fire officials say a group of birds coming into contact with electrical equipment sparked Tuesday's brush fire in the Roxborough Park area. The fire ignited late in the afternoon near North Rampart Range Road after the birds were electrocuted, caught on fire, fell into the dry grass. The fire burned about 16 acres and came close to a water treatment plant, but no buildings were damaged. A woman says she's grateful to be alive after a multi-vehicle crash in Denver, which sent her car plunging into the South Platte River. It happened on Tuesday morning on I-25, where the woman's car went over a concrete wall and landed on its side in the water. She was able to get out of the car before rescuers helped her out of the river and took her to the hospital. The driver who caused the chain reaction crash has been cited for careless driving and driving without a license. Elijah McClain's father, Luane Mosley, has pleaded guilty to DUI and assault of a peace officer. Mosley was arrested in Adams County back in January after he was allegedly seen driving erratically, refused to comply with a DUI investigation, attacked a sheriff's deputy, and had to be subdued with a stun gun. His sentencing is set for October. Colorado lawmakers expected to vote on 3 bills today in a special session to tackle soaring property taxes, of course. Republican State Rep Rose Puglisi says the votes should eliminate some anxiety.
This gives certainty to them that they will have some additional property tax relief without having to wait and see what happens in November.
The compromise reached with 2 groups backing Propositions 50 and 108 are among the bills slated to be voted on. Those call for deeper tax cuts than what was enacted earlier this year. If the bills pass, they head to the Senate. 55 in Larkspur, 56 in Erie, and 59 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue. It's Wednesday, hump day. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Sunny and warm. Temperatures reaching a low 90s today. There's a very small chance of an isolated gusty thunderstorm this evening, and lows tonight, lower 60s. It'll be cooler Thursday, sunny, low 80s, 50s Thursday night, mid to upper 80s Friday. Highs will be in the 80s to near 90 for Labor Day weekend. Isolated thunderstorms Sunday and Monday. Weather sponsored by branchplanning.com. Secure your future retirement with a reliable income stream annuities can provide. Guaranteed payments giving you peace of mind. Get your complimentary review at branchplanning.com or call 303-219-0088. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
All right, welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We're going to get to the phone lines here. Nearly jam-packed. We do have an open line if you want to give us a call, 303-696-1971. Here was Donald Trump at the March for Life when he was the first president to speak there.
We cannot know what our citizens yet unborn will achieve, the dreams they will imagine, the masterpieces they will create, the discoveries they will make. But we know this. Every life brings love into this world. Every child brings joy to a family. Every person is worth protecting. And above all, we know that every human soul is divine and every human life, born and unborn, is made in the holy image of Almighty God. Together, we will defend this truth all across our magnificent land. We will set free the dreams of our people. And with determined hope, we look forward to all of the blessings that will come from the beauty, talent, purpose, nobility, and grace of every American child. I want to thank you. This is a very special moment. It's so great to represent you. I love you all. And I say with true passion, thank you, God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you all. Thank you.
That was the National March for Life, where he was the first president to speak at it. He has gone from every person is worth protecting, we must defend this truth across the land, to, well, we'll allow states to make up their decisions on this particular issue. And if California wants to do that, we'll let them do that. This shift, which I don't see in a lot of other areas in his policy, that's dramatic of a shift, I think is the wrong direction to go. Now, is he as crazy as Kamala Harris and the Democrats that we're doing abortions outside the DNC? Absolutely not. But I think there is evidence out there, plenty of it, in Ohio, in Florida, and in Georgia, that you can be a pro-life politician, still win elections in contested states. And I don't know who that audience is, that by waffling on the sanctity of life, you're now all of a sudden going to pull them over and they're going to be supporters of you. I don't know. Prove me wrong. Jim, Denver, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show. News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Jim.
Hey, good morning. I think he has to change his position, at least in the right places. There's an election to win, and it sounds as though the voter registration amongst the type of people that kill babies is absolutely surging. Hopefully that's fake news, but yeah, the voter registration's up over the last month incredibly.
And Jim, do you think that there's an electorate out there that's going to go, okay, well, he's gotten softer on this, so now I'm willing to give him a chance. He's not quite committed to the sanctity of life like he used to be. Every person is worth protecting. We're going to defend this truth across the land. He's gotten softer on that. Now they're willing to come over and support him?
No, I think everybody's already made their decision, and now they're registering to vote, and it doesn't look good. It looks kind of like what happened in Kansas in 2022.
I will grant to you that the pro-life policy on ballot initiatives has not been successful. The pro-choice side has won every ballot initiative since Dobbs. That has not, though, translated to candidates. You've had plenty of candidates, Mike DeWine, Ron DeSantis, Brian Kemp, that all signed pro-life legislation and all won re-election, in some cases by big numbers, in contested states.
Yeah, I hope you're right, but overall, the red wave that we were expecting in 2022 was muted for some reason. I think we found that reason.
You think so? You think it's the sanctity of life issue?
I think it has a lot to do with it. Or then again, maybe it's inflation, right? Maybe it's inflation.
I would agree with Jim that it has a lot to do with the Dobbs decision. That it has a lot to do with it. I think that's why you didn't see the red wave in part in 2022. Is it the entirety of it? No. But did it have a significant reason? Yes. If we had to list the significant reasons, that's in the top 3 easily, if not top 2.
How do you know that?
Absolutely. Because of you look at what happens with the initiatives, and I understand you've highlighted the 3 candidates, but I can highlight other candidates that lost based on their pro-life stances. So we haven't seen this universality of supporting candidates that are pro-life and then not. And when you see things like when the ballot initiative loses in Kansas, that tells you where the electorate is. That tells you why. And when you get into the idea of a national abortion ban and the states' rights issues, you're seeing that turn. That's in part why you didn't see a big red wave. And that's why you're seeing some of these things with blue states right now.
I still think there's a difference between ballot initiatives and candidates.
Yeah, but don't they both reflect the
because
views of,
you see that in Colorado. Let's go look at Colorado, where we prevent bans on fracking, and then we elect people that go put bans on fracking.
Yes, that happens. But what you're seeing is when they come out and they vote on initiatives, that's where the electorate is telling you their heart is. They may have chosen someone else that enacted a ban on fracking elsewhere, but I don't think that fracking is the same as abortion in most people's minds. They don't equate them. They don't sit there and say that the abortion issue, regardless of what side you're on, is nearly as important as the fracking issue. That's way down the list. So it would seem reasonable that someone could sit there and vote one way during a fracking ban and vote a different way for a candidate. The abortion thing has become much more prescient. And part of the problem is because of these state bans. And the issue being, and this is where I feel that the GOP overstepped their boundaries, they didn't just go with bans. They started trying to prevent people from leaving the state to get an abortion and prosecuting them if they did. That's crazy.
I think that was an idea introduced. I don't think that was ever a bill passed, though. There's no bill out of Texas or law that prevents you from traveling out of the state to get an abortion.
But what does it say about the pro-life lawmakers that are running those bills?
They believe that it's murder.
And they believe that you
can't travel to another state to commit murder.
Okay, but they're saying, I know, but I thought it was a states' rights thing. Why, if I'm in Texas and I go into Kansas, I'm not still subject to Texas law? If the rules are different there, if they have a different speed limit, I don't have to drive by the Texas speed limit because I'm a resident in Texas. If the speed limit's different in Kansas, I can't sit there and say, you know what, the highways in Texas, we can go 70. You can't tell me I can go 55 in Kansas.
Yeah,
I'm
but if you travel to another state to commit a murder, there's interstate.
Your definition.
You're getting into issues on that.
Hang on. Your definition.
But you're asking, I'm giving you the definition of that person who made that idea up.
I know, but
that's how they're thinking about this.
Yeah, and the electorate disagrees overwhelmingly.
Well, I think, right, but they never passed a law for that. Go ahead, Jim.
I thought that was the Roe v. Wade law.
I think it will be clear here in a couple of months based on the statistics of who votes and how they vote. I think we're about to find out just what Lindsey Graham said in 2016 is probably more true than anything else Lindsey Graham said. Do you remember what he said about Donald Trump in 2016?
No, go ahead.
Lindsey Graham said, if we nominate this guy, he will destroy the Republican Party and we will deserve it. I think that's a quote.
So wait, so Jim, help me understand how he's destroying the Republican Party, because he has not stayed so committed to pro-life, or because he's adjusting in order to try to win elections. How is he destroying the Republican Party?
He's destroyed the old Republican Party, the Bush, Cheney, neocon Republican Party is clearly dead. And I think that's exactly what happened. And I think Lindsey Graham pointed that out before the election. And
you want to go back to those? You want to go back to that Republican?
No, I'm not telling you anything other than what I see going on around me. I'm not advocating for any of it. Okay. But this is what's going on around us. I'm not cheerleading for anything. Okay.
Hey,
all right. Well, Jim, I appreciate the call.
And I think Jim's right about, because you look at the DNC, they brought up most of their past presidents and candidates.
Oh, yeah.
Where at the RNC, there were none. And so
we
that's
don't
what
even have a state party in Colorado that can.
Yeah. And that's what I think Jim is saying, is that it has become the Trump party, not the GOP. Yeah. It's no longer Republican Party. It's the Trump party. And that's what he's saying, is Lindsey Graham was right about that. He's just saying, and you can say, yay, that's fantastic, or boo, I dislike it. Yeah. But he's just an observation.
Let's go to Mary, Wyoming. You're on the Jeff and Bill show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Mary.
Morning. Nice to hear your voice.
Hey, I'm good morning. And also, I find that, Billy, I have to go ahead and agree with you this time.
Oh, my God.
I really have to support you on this.
I got to write this down. Holy crap.
I know, it's mark the day.
Exactly.
Jeff, what I struggle with is that the whole thing has, and I support Trump, and I supported him and his position on life, on sanctity of life. I just disagree, and I think a lot of women do, that it will make a difference for them whether Trump is more relaxed. To me, it is your position that life starts. The sanctity of life is at conception. That's always what I've always disagreed with. I haven't changed my position, just as I have a problem with the Democrats being able to have an abortion up until it's a child, almost walking. In other words, it's an embryo at the beginning. Well, it starts out as a germ cell, and then it goes into, the zoet, and then into an embryo. I think women, their belief system is that we should have a choice. And your position of it starts at conception doesn't allow us any choice. We're murderers.
Well,
if we want to,
the choice took place prior to the baby being created. There was sexual activity. That's where the choice took place.
Oh, it's our sexual activity. You, as usual, it's a male thing. In other words,
no, I think the male's responsible too.
But what do they do to prevent? We're the ones that take the birth control. We're the ones that use the IUD. We're the ones that all of that is on us. And we're saying, if there is something that happens and we end up getting pregnant at the very beginning during the embryonic stages, especially, I think women should have a choice.
But you believe in some restrictions, and that's again, and I preface that at the beginning of this whole conversation, where the Democrats are, where Kamala Harris is about as extreme as you could possibly get with regards to abortion. The only thing that would be more extreme would be the actual execution of toddlers, because they're right up against that line right there. At 9 months, right before a child is born, you can execute that. That's not right. You at least,
Definitely.
And this is where I think a lot of Americans are. They want some restrictions, and anytime we even try to bring that up, I think that's probably where the electorate is. It doesn't make it right, though.
And I'm just saying, conception, I have a problem with. The embryonic stage, which is the 12 weeks, which we did have, I think is It allows the woman to choose. And I think that that's what men particularly will not accept. That we do want some control over our own body.
And Mary, when does human life start, in your opinion?
Like I said, I believe it's when it has a heartbeat. Isn't the Jews to say that it's when the breath of life?
Yeah, when they takes a breath. Yep.
And I'm saying, no, I'm even restricting it more. And I'm saying when it's in an embryonic stage, to me, it started out as a germ cell. And I feel very strongly that it is at the first 12 weeks, it is the woman's choice of whether she wants to keep that.
Do you think that Trump should sign?
Embryo.
Do you think that Trump should sign a ban on late-term abortions, though?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah,
I have no problem, and I even think those that are pro-life majority of the people have no problems with that position.
Right. Oh yeah. Yeah. No, we'd be happy to do that, but to go from what he was saying at the March for Life, every person is worth protecting. We're going to defend this truth across the land, to tweeting, I am going to be great for women's reproductive rights. That's a shift, and it's a shift I don't see him make on other policy issues.
Not if you think that is an embryo for the first 12 weeks. It is not a shift. I believe that then when it becomes a baby, to me, which is let's say the third month, then yes, then okay, I understand the other because that's what we've had before, and we were accepting of that.
Well, Mary, I appreciate the call. We've got Rose Puglisi coming up next, so I've just got to move on.
Yeah,
Thanks so much
for
the call. Great to hear from her. Our phone lines will be open 303-696-1971. Lots of text messages coming in on this one. Joan from Lakewood agrees with Mary. Jason, Trump destroyed the Colorado Republican Party. I don't know if you can blame Trump for that.
That's interesting, though.
I wonder. Trump did better in Colorado in 16 than Romney did in 12.
Yeah, the only thing that I would be curious for the texter to talk about is, are they referring to the rhino purge? And that's something that has been going on, because if you're not wearing that red hat, you're considered to be outside of the party of the group, which is really, really weird. We had 250 or so Republicans that have signed on to a letter saying that they will support Harris over Trump. And these are people that are
interns.
No, they're people that were on staff. They're people that are higher up on staff.
I went through that list. It's a lot of interns.
Yeah. Oh, I know. But the issue is they've probably been
such a classic media thing.
Yeah, it is a media
200
thing.
people, former staffers.
But there are high level authorities and staffers on that list. And
There's
some of them
There's also a lot
have been Republicans much longer than Trump has been. So the idea, and now they're rhinos. That's interesting. The idea, and now they're considered rhinos because of this, even though they've been a member of the party longer than he has.
Holy cow. Phones are blowing up. Sherry, there's a heartbeat at 5 weeks. I agree with that, Sherry. All right. We'll continue this conversation. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We've got absolutely jam-packed phone lines. We're going to get to you all in just a second. We're looking out there. Adam's got the traffic up on the YouTubes, and I think she's stuck. I see her. Billy, she's on her way to the Capitol.
Rose, wave out the window. We'll see you on the video. No, don't do that. Don't do that.
I'm waving at you.
Thank you.
I got to tell you, I've been absolutely thrilled with her leadership down at the State House. She's the House Minority Leader. That means she's the top Republican in the State House of Representatives. Rose Puglisi joins us. Rose, thanks so much for being on the program. Give us a sense of what's happening down in the special session.
Thank you so much, and thank you for your kind words. I really appreciate it. So, after a lot of negotiations, we did have on second readings yesterday. So we have the ability to debate on the floor the compromise property tax bill, which, I know that there's a lot of opinions regarding property tax and how we should be doing it and whether it should go to the ballot or not. I think it's really important that the people of Colorado have some certainty. And we all know, I was heartbroken after we tried to protect the Electoral College in Colorado, and that was defeated at the ballot box. I think giving people some certainty that their property taxes they'll see some relief and protect seniors, our disabled veterans, veterans and disabled people with the homestead exemption. I think that's really important. And I think this bill will bring balance for local governments who also need to provide essential services. So I think that this is a good compromise. It's not the perfect bill, but I do think it brings certainty to the people of Colorado, and I think that's really important.
Now, I know Michael Fields was part of the negotiation, all this, and in fact, in many ways, it was his activity getting the 2 ballot initiatives out there that forced Democrats to the table. Have you spoken directly with Michael? Do you get a sense that they're going to withdraw the 2 ballot initiatives as a result of this compromise?
Yes. So Michael and Senator Kirkmeyer and I speak almost hourly, it feels like, in the last couple of days. And so he has been part of the negotiations, and we have fought back against some things that the Democrats wanted in the bill, like limiting the people's power to petition onto the ballot for future property taxes. So I think we've done some really good work. Michael is involved, and assuming the bill passes in its current form, we do have one technical change today that he also approves, but assuming it passes, it sounds like that, yes, 50 and 108 will be taken off the ballot, again, in an effort to provide certainty to the people of Colorado.
Now, we have heard from some conservatives on X and some of our commentators that why should we compromise, right? Go all the way. The wind's at our back. We've got the Democrats on their heels. It seems like on this one issue, why is it necessary for Republicans to compromise?
You know, I think it's important, like I said, taking that risk at the ballot box. There are 2 things that I really want people to know. One is, you're taking a risk. So if 108 and 50 don't pass, you won't get additional property tax relief. If 108 passes, that tax relief will not come until 2026. So your property taxes will go up, and then they'll go back down. And I think for a lot of people who are struggling today, to make ends meet. I mean, you all know we are in an election cycle, and so we are all talking to our constituents. We are knocking doors. They really need help today. And so this will be immediate relief that they can feel and see. And I think having that certainty is so important.
I want to get very clear on the idea that the Democrats were trying to stop future ballot initiatives with regards to tax issues. Has that been stopped by you all and other folks down there? Is there a potential that could continue through?
No, there is no potential now that it continues through. It was part of the conversation. And I know even at the Property Tax Commission, there was a conversation that Michael Fields was part of regarding, how long until another property tax initiative could be brought forward? How do we get that certainty? And however Michael negotiates that, that's up to him. But, there was a lot of talk about stopping the initiative process on property taxes specifically. And I think we have fought that down. I do not see that that will be coming forward. There is a bill that is going through the legislature right now that we'll vote on as well today. It's a referendum to the ballot to put in the Constitution that's specifically on property taxes. And the Democrats are bringing this, Republicans don't support it. But specifically with regard to property taxes, if a statewide ballot initiative passes, that a local government can vote to override it. And, I think that there's definitely some conversations to have about local property taxes, but this referendum, putting it in the Constitution in its current form, is not something Republicans can support, nor do we think implementation works for our communities. And so, but it doesn't limit the initiative power. So right now, I felt at one point that was going to be an issue, but we did fight hard on that and made our opinions known. And, Representative Wilson and I ran one of the largest ballot initiatives in Colorado's history to protect the Electoral College. And we would never vote to allow the people to be silenced and not have that initiative process.
Rose Puglisi, House Minority Leader, joining Jeff and Bill live. She is stuck in traffic, just like some of you. So, yes. Now, I appreciate the idea of, them saying, well, some local jurisdictions can override it and they want, if they don't like the property tax initiatives. Part of me says, let them have the high taxes in Boulder. Do that and see what happens with housing rates. But more importantly, I want to focus on the push from Democrats. I'm of the opinion that the Democrats are viewing this special session as a chance to have their third or fourth bite at the apple. We know they like this idea of rapidly increasing property taxes because they want more of your money, my money, Jeff's money, and our listeners' money. Am I correct? Are the things the Democrats doing just trying to get the stuff across the line they failed during the regular session?
So, in the last special session, I would say 100%. That was a very failed special session. This special session has been incredibly focused, mostly on this compromise bill. And so I think we've been having some good conversations, but we haven't really, there were a bunch of bills that came forward. They were killed in committee on both sides. I think there's some really good ideas out there that we should continue to vet and talk with our local governments about. But I will say this special session does feel different than the last one, and definitely more focused.
Rose Puglisi, she's the House Minority Leader. That means she's the top Republican down at the House. I want to pivot now just briefly. How's November looking for the Mighty 19? Are we going to have Mighty 20, Mighty 21, 22? Give us a sense of your optimism or your pessimism on this upcoming election.
Well, the Assistant Minority Leader, Ty Winter, and I are working incredibly hard to restore balance in Colorado, right? I'm not promising anybody that I'm going to be the next Speaker of the House, but I do think we have a great opportunity to pick up seats throughout Colorado and end the supermajority. And I think for all people, whether you're Republican, Democrat, or unaffiliated, or whatever party you choose, I think restoring balance, I think especially in these property tax conversations, the need to restore balance is more and more prevalent. And so I think we've got some great candidates on our side. I'm incredibly excited at this new crop of people who will be coming in. And I think we're going to have a really strong caucus. I think our caucus right now is very strong and united, and I think we're just going to continue to build that. So I am incredibly optimistic about our chances in November.
What are maybe 2 seats you think we could pick up? The biggest potential options for Republicans that we should be paying attention to this November?
So generally, the seats that we're focusing on are in El Paso County, and we have 2 in Wells County, in Jefferson and Douglas. So these are generally conservative areas where those races were very tight, and there's no mandate that Democrats occupy these seats. So those are the seats we're going to be focused on right now. And I think we've got a great chance of picking some of those up.
Look, Republicans get in control one office at a time in this state. We're not going to jump big statewide all of a sudden. You got to do the work at the local level. That's why your local state house races are so absolutely critical across the state. Rose Puglisi, House Minority Leader, doing a great job down at the state capitol, leading the Mighty 19 in the Colorado House of Representatives. Thanks so much for being on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Have a great day.
You too. Oh, that was a fantastic conversation there with Rose, and she was talking a lot about compromise, and that means a lot to me because in my life, I had been compromising, but not in a good way. Not the compromise you do with the kids and the wife. I was compromising my lifestyle based on the pain that I was in. I wasn't doing things I used to do years ago. Now, I know you're making the same choice. That's why I want you to talk to my friends at Balance Wellspace. They're making an incredible change in my life. Check them out at balancewellspace.com. Balancewellspace.com. It's integrative medicine. I don't know what the hell that meant until I learned about the practice. Now, what they do is it's a one-stop shop. They can do chiropractic care, neuropathy, physical rehabilitation, wave therapy, regenerative care, trigger point injections, and so much more, along with some cutting-edge therapies that are nothing short of remarkable. You're dealing with neuropathy, they can change your life. Give them a call. Check them out, balancewellspace.com. I'm rocking my brand new knee brace. A number of years ago, I have a torn meniscus. It was weak. I was having problems getting up and down the stairs sometimes. You see me carrying a full load of laundry in the house? I knew I had to be very careful how I went up and down those stairs because I didn't have a lot of strength left in my knee. I thought, that's what old people have. I see other old people dealing with this. I didn't know there was a solution. I had no clue. Balance Wellspace hooked me up with some traction, did some rehabilitation on the knee, and now I am in a brace along with some trigger points and some regenerative care. I have strength in my left knee I haven't had in, again, over a decade. The thing is incredibly strong. In fact, It's got me wondering about what's going on my right knee now. I've got a lot of stuff wrong with me, and it's not just mental. I'm talking about I got a broken shoulder. I have a back that is awful. The doctors have told me for years that my lower back looks like I played in the NFL for 13 years. The rest of my back's fine. The bottom two vertebrae are fusing together. It was a daily source of pain for me. It wasn't if I was going to have the pain. It was just how much pain I was going to have today. Now, I forget about it. Sometimes I'll be sitting around and go, oh, wait, it's a little twinge there. I have forgotten about the pain I had been living with for well over a decade. They can make the same difference in your life. I want you to experience the change that I'm experiencing as well. Check them out, balancewellspace.com. You go there, you visit with Dr. Julie, Dr. Jess, the team. They ask you questions. What hurts and what aren't you doing? That's the important part of the conversation. Then they go to work and they find a plan that's going to fit for you and your needs. You come back in and they take care of you. Also, they reevaluate your care every couple of weeks. So you're always getting updated on where you are, looking at your progress, and they will adjust things to make sure your care continues to move forward. Bet that's different than your current medical team, huh? They're not talking about you. They probably never talk. One stop, one office, everything taken care of. It's integrative medicine. I want you to experience the difference they can make in your life. Check out my friends at Balance Wellspace. They're the team that I trust. They have done amazing things for me. They can do them for you. Check them out, balancewellspace.com, balancewellspace.com. Tell them you heard about them on Jeff and Bill.
All right, we'll continue the conversation. Jam-packed phone lines. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Let's get to the phone lines. Jam-packed. Dean, Denver, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show. Good morning.
Hey, Dean.
Dean, we got you?
Well, here, I'm going to talk to Dean off air. Since
All
I don't
right,
want to, just in case he has something there that he doesn't want anybody else to hear, we should not be sharing that with him. Just in case. He's like, yes, my password is... No. Yeah, let's talk to Jay.
Let's go to Jay Sterling. Jay, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show. News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning.
Well, good morning to you folks. Appreciate all you do. Now there's something that just one stupid man's opinion, and like this whole abortion thing. That's when I called in originally. That's what you was talking about.
Yeah, go ahead.
So there's pleasure and there's risk in your pleasure that you're taking. Now you took that choice.
Yep.
You knew the consequences. Own your own risk.
Yes.
For your
Jay,
pleasure.
I'm with you 100%. The choice took place prior to the creation of the child. If you engage in sexual activity that could result in the creation of a human child, that's where the choice takes place. And where the Democrats are is you can allow that baby and that life to grow, get big, be viable outside the womb, and Planned Parenthood will take a bus to the Democrat National Convention, and you can kill that child just before it's born in the little bus outside the DNC. They are so extreme, it's ridiculous.
It's insane. But we've created a society that thinks that it's okay to do a crime or to do something, not a crime. You'll put it in better terminology than I can. But that'd be like me jumping on my motorcycle or jumping into the corral to go brand cows. I know I'm taking a risk branding cows. I know I'm taking a risk riding a dirt bike. But if I get injured, either way, you're taking a chance of something. But I put myself in that position, and they have to own the position that they put themselves in. If I get hit by a bull working cows, well, I allowed myself to be in that position to brand cows.
Yeah.
If I got on a dirt bike.
Jay, look.
The question, though, is I got a question, though, that how come we're only holding one person in this thing responsible?
Nope, I'm happy to hold both. I'm very happy to hold both.
No, but we never hear that. We
I'm
never
happy
hear
to.
anything.
I'm saying about it right now.
There isn't a single platform anywhere ever in the Republican Party talking about holding the men responsible.
Not true. Not true. During the last one, the 2016, which reaffirmed in 2020,
and they did
that men need to be held accountable for the life that they create. That means you're going to be responsible for financially providing for that child.
And
absolutely.
And Republican lawmakers did what?
Self-ownership.
What? How many bills did Republican lawmakers run on that?
We should, though.
No.
I don't know.
Care.
I don't know.
I
don't know.
Well, that's the issue. Is that was in the platform, and here's the problem. And I understand what Jay's saying, but what part of our audience is hearing is during a sexual act, if a child is created, it's the woman's responsibility. End of sentence.
She could have said no before it happened.
Couldn't the guy as well? Doesn't he have any responsibility, Jay? I mean, doesn't it take two people to create a child?
Okay, rape is one thing, but for her to consent to have the intercourse, therefore she consented to have the intercourse.
Yeah, didn't the boy as well, the man?
Yes,
he consented.
And I'm happy to hold him accountable.
And so how come he doesn't have any accountability? I know, but we've never run anything as far as a large legislation or anything.
If we have or not.
No, there's nothing out there. And look at how difficult it is for single mothers to get child support payments. It's absolutely ridiculous.
It shouldn't be.
And we don't.
Okay, you're going down a wrong road there.
To Jay's point, hold on. To Jay's point, though, abortion is the backstop for the sexual revolution that our culture has embraced. That's why we have it. That's why it's so important. That's why we won't let it go. I don't think you have people out there that are willingly going, I want to kill children. But a vast majority of abortions, 90% plus, are birth control so that you can continue to live the sexually promiscuous life you want to be able to live.
That you tag the end.
I agree.
You tag that sentence with something that is not proven in fact. Because what you're doing
90% of abortions are elective as birth control.
But then you said to live your promiscuous life.
Yes.
Okay. But there are a segment of women that have abortions that are married. Not being promiscuous.
It's very small. It's a very small. It's a vast majority are single.
But you're saying they're promiscuous. Again, your statement doesn't hold up.
If you're having sex outside of marriage, I think that's the definition of being promiscuous.
But I'm telling you that there are women that are married that have abortions. They're not promiscuous.
And it's a small percentage versus the vast majority that are done by single women in order to continue to live according to the sexual revolution, the idea that you can have sex freely and willingly outside of marriage.
But men already get to do that. And they have
and
no
I'm telling you, I'm
consequences.
happy
And
to
now you're
hold them
mad about that.
accountable.
Now we're
No,
mad
I'm
about
not
letting the
mad
girls
about
out.
that. I'm happy to hold them accountable.
And oddly, no laws ever address that. Strange. It's real weird.
I don't know. I don't know if you could say there's
Super
no
weird.
law that's held them accountable. If you,
Okay.
I think that's where you end up with child support payments
That we don't enforce.
Yep.
But there's a law there.
That we don't enforce.
I'm happy to enforce them. I don't know
But we don't enforce
who's
it.
this world that you're saying I'm not willing to enforce them.
No, I'm just saying.
I'm willing to enforce
But
them.
you said the idea is making sure the guys are responsible as well, and we don't try to hold the guys
Well, the
responsible.
text
Appreciate you, Jay.
messages are full, and so are the phone lines. Jay, thanks so much. We are having a lot of fun on this Wednesday, debating important issues that you're not going to get on another show. So thank you to everyone that's participating. We'll continue this conversation. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Well, text message lines are full, and so are the phone lines. We're having a great conversation today. Good morning. It's 8 a.m. in the Mile High City, and you've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show on this Wednesday, August 28th. We've got a whole lot to cover. Wrapped up a great interview with Rose Puglisi. Coming up next is Aaron Lee. She's a parents' rights activist, and she's been looking at some first grade social studies curriculum. It's going to make you raise your eyebrows, maybe in just because of its great adoration of Jared Polis. It's like a weird, bizarre campaign pitch in promotion of Jared Polis. And yes, that is being taught to first graders all across the state of Colorado. So we're going to get into what she's discovered. And then in the 9 o'clock hour, Paul Lundeen, top Republican in the state Senate, is going to join us, give us some insight on what's happening down during the special session. So great show. We're going to get to phone calls as well. Let's first check in on the news and commentary with Blake Olson. Good morning.
All right. Thanks a lot, Jeff. And Billy, 64 and sunny, expecting a high of 93 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story.
We also have a broken immigration system.
We're going to have 2 million people cross this border for the first time ever. You're confident this border is secure?
We have a secure border in that is a priority for any nation, including ours and our administration. But there are still a lot of problems that we are trying to fix.
Oh, this is so ridiculous, even for Democrats. Kamala Harris hasn't faced the press or done a serious interview for nearly 40 days, and now she's going to sit down with Dana Bash of CNN only if Timmy Walls sits down beside her and guides her through the night with the light from above, from the mountains, and
Never let anyone take your joy from you. I call myself a joyful warrior. Right? Never let anyone take your joy from you.
People say I got a drinking problem.
And they ended up with her. And then the fake news media, of course, got right behind her. And at this moment, she can do no wrong. But if you follow politics and if you see what she said, she'll destroy this country with her tax increases and everything else. If she wins, I don't believe our country has a chance.
What do you think,
Blake? I got to, it's the joy that she exudes that has resulted in 90% of her staff leaving in 4 years. There's so much joy,
no doubt,
that they don't know what to handle. Look, they're trying to Oprahify her. We talked about this all last week. She's your gal pal. And then they're going to try to Obamafy her, that this is kind of a historic moment in American history that we can elect, Kamala Harris to be the president of the United States.
Yeah.
I think the way to respond to this, and I've thought a lot about how you deal with this, because if you're interested in facts and policy, you'd already be a conservative. You know that the way that they've led this nation is not working well. So you'd already be on the conservative side of things. So how do you appeal to uninformed voters that won't listen to facts or reasoning? I think you've got to go back to a core experience that a lot of women have.
What's that?
A terrible female boss. A lot of
that's
like
good.
You go into a woman's professional career and they will almost always talk about a vindictive, insecure female boss that they had at some point.
Absolutely,
that just made their careers miserable. That's Kamala Harris.
And I've heard
that's
so
the
many
Republican
times.
response to that is that she was that boss that you always, and the evidence is 90% turnover in her staff.
Correct. It's crazy. Hey, you know what? You made me think also on social media and digitally, now that Tulsi Gabbard is on board with Trump officially, if you look at that side by side of Tulsi, and not just the appearance, but what she says, Tulsi and
Kamala.
I forgot her name. Kamala. If you watch that, I mean, it's so telling. Tulsi just dominated her. She looked better than her, sounded better than her, made you feel better than her, if you want to go onto that emotional side that we're talking about. But I love what you're saying. No,
Tulsi
I agree
is great, man. The Republicans got Wonder Woman right now.
No, I agree, man. She's a star on the rise, no doubt. Former President Trump is being indicted again for allegedly interfering with the 2020 election. They didn't assassinate him, so, well, they have to continue with the lawfare. The deep state lefties never stopped. The DOJ says Tuesday's new indictment reflects the recent Supreme Court ruling that gives presidents broad immunity from criminal prosecution for official acts. Trump is accused of leading a conspiracy to overturn the election. So that's the news media will blab that today. You'll hear it about a billion times if you're listening to the mainstream media, but thankfully most of our listeners are not. Colorado lawmakers expected to vote on 3 bills today in a special session to tackle soaring property taxes. Republican State Rep Rose Puglisi on with Jeff and Bill last hour, and Puglisi reminds Coloradans a couple important points.
The 2 things that I really want people to know. One is, you're taking a risk. So if 108 and 50 don't pass, you won't get additional property tax relief. If 108 passes, that tax relief will not come until 2026. So your property taxes will go up and then they'll go back down. And I think for a lot of people who are struggling today to make ends meet, they really need help today. And so this will be immediate relief that they can feel and see. And I think having that certainty is so important.
The compromise reached with 2 groups backing Propositions 50 and 108 are among the bills slated to be voted on. Those call for deeper tax cuts than what was enacted earlier this year. If the bills pass the House, they head to the Senate. Now it's Wednesday, and I have a new theme song now for Wednesdays, and I forgot all about this, Jeff and Billy. Man, I want you to have a great Wednesday. I forgot this is called Wednesdays.
This is good.
Wednesday.
Nicely done.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
If only that guy could come on the show. Oh, he did. Rob Mullins was on your show yesterday.
Oh, is that Rob? That's great.
That's Rob Mullins, the regular at Doug's Diner. And you guys had him on the show yesterday.
That's great.
I had to
Not enough time with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt.
And he gave us free CDs too, which is cool.
Yeah, it is.
Because he knew, and he looked at us, he's like, "You're old enough to have a CD player." Yes, I am, sir. Absolutely.
Exactly right.
He reminded me someone on TV. I still can't figure it out, like an actor or something, but no, that was cool. So it's 61 in Littleton. It's 60. Yes, in Lafayette. And it's 64 in Denver. Good night. I'm going to go take a nap. Jeff and Bill continue. It's Wednesday. Blake Olson, Smooth Jazz News Talk, 710 KNUS.
Sunny and warm. Temperatures reaching low 90s today. There's a very small chance of an isolated gusty thunderstorm this evening, and lows tonight, lower 60s. It'll be cooler Thursday, sunny, low 80s, 50s Thursday night, mid to upper 80s Friday. Highs will be in the 80s to near 90 for Labor Day weekend. Isolated thunderstorms Sunday and Monday. Weather sponsored by branchplanning.com. Secure your future retirement with a reliable income stream annuities can provide. Guaranteed payments giving you peace of mind. Get your complimentary review at branchplanning.com or call 303-219-0088. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
All right, Erin Lee, she's a regular on this TV show. She's a mom fighting for parental rights and against the gender ideology. She's the director of Protect Kids Colorado. Well, she's dived into a little bit of interesting information with regards to first grade social studies standards and curriculum provided by the Colorado Department of Education. Erin, thanks so much for being on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Hey, Jeff, thanks for having me.
So give us a sense of what you found for first graders in the state of Colorado.
Yeah, well, my friend Pam Benigno at Independence Institute out of Denver actually alerted me to these standards back in 2022. So the legislature passed the law 1192 in 2019. Then the State Board of Ed voted on standards in November of 22. And now they're requiring that LGBTQ be taught to all students in history and civics starting in first grade. And the Colorado Department of Education put out some resources actually made by current Colorado K through 12 teachers for teachers throughout the state to utilize in order to meet these new standards that go into effect this fall. And what we found embedded within these materials is outrageous. I mean, inaccurate, age inappropriate. They're talking about, Harvey Milk, the Stonewall riots, Marsha and Sylvia, who were not transgender. They were drug addict drag queens who pimped out children in order to supply their drug habit. And these are people who are being glorified and glamorized, and these concepts of sex work and drug use and children being able to sell their bodies are part of suggested curriculum for first graders in the state of Colorado now.
I'm looking at, you've posted pictures and screenshots of this curriculum on your X account. If people want to go see it, Erin for Parent, ERIN, the number 4, and then parents after that. Let's just go through this. Okay. So number 1, Pride in Harvey Milk, the story of Harvey Milk and the rainbow flag. And it's kind of like a kid's story with animated graphics, all that. And 2012 Gay Pride Parade, San Francisco, California. I mean, look, I understand this is part of activities that are happening in America, so you can't ignore them entirely. Help me understand why first graders need to learn this. These are 7-year-olds.
Yeah. Well, and this is 6-year-olds.
Yeah.
6-year-olds in first grade. And this is why we showed up at the State Board of Education. We showed up when this bill was passed. I mean, I wasn't active yet in 2019, but we showed up in 2022 at the State Board of Ed when they were trying to start the standard in kindergarten. And we managed to push them up to first grade. But it's completely inappropriate. Kids, 50% of them can't read or do math or write at grade level. And here we are forcing standards that they learn about Marsha P. Johnson and Harvey Milk and the contributions of LGBTQ people when they can't even read and write. It's not appropriate. It's not necessary. And parents have got to show up and voice their concern, ask questions, pay attention, show up to these sessions when these laws are being passed. Because we had an opportunity to voice our concerns, but very few parents showed up. It's not appropriate. It's not necessary. And we've got to push back.
Some of the questions that are asked to first graders: why is the pride flag important? What does the pride flag represent? And how does displaying the pride flag show respect? Look, I'm not trying to be mean and beat up on the LGBT community here. I don't understand why first graders need to learn this stuff. Like, it just reeks of agenda-driven activities. Like, I think as an informed American, you should know what the pride flag stands for and represents, right? It's everywhere. So you might as well understand it. I don't understand why it's got to be driven at the level of first graders.
Well, if you look at the timeline of when these standards were passed, I think it was in direct response to Ron DeSantis's, what they call the Don't Say Gay bill in Florida, where they banned this kind of conversation for first through third graders, or up until third grade. And I think Colorado was kind of like, hold my beer, watch what we can do. We're going to mandate it for these children. It's absolutely agenda pushing. And I've said all along in my fight, I truly don't care what an adult does with their life. My line in the sand is children. I agree. We should know about each other and embrace each other. And as adults, fine, we should understand what the pride flag means. But that's not appropriate with 6 and 7 and 8-year-olds. And that's the point that I think everyone needs to understand. I personally, Protect Kids Colorado, are not against LGBTQ people, but we have serious concerns when it comes to introducing these concepts to children. It's sexuality, it's gender identity. And as I've experienced personally, my child, when we moved here to Colorado, my child went into 4th grade, my daughter. And that's the year that she began to be indoctrinated with gender ideology. They planted seeds that made her vulnerable to the idea that she was born in the wrong body, that when she hit puberty, she was told by people in her school that she didn't have to be a girl, that maybe she was born in the wrong body, she was actually a boy. And it was these little seeds that had been planted all along that made her so ripe and vulnerable for that ideology and to fall into gender confusion. And that's absolutely what's happening here. It's packaged in cutesy little, colorful books about Harvey Milk and the Stonewall riots. But the concepts are planting seeds of, kids can talk about sexuality at 6 years old and, be ridden with the idea that they can be any gender they want and perhaps they've been born in the wrong body. It's just really dangerous to introduce concepts that kids are not prepared to comprehend at 6, 7, and 8 years old. It's absolutely a gender.
Talking with Erin Lee, she's a parental rights activist. And then what kind of struck me too was this bizarre promotion of Jared Polis. I know, we all know he wants to be president, but first grade civics resource set for public schools in Colorado talk about the first openly gay person confirmed to serve in the president's cabinet is Secretary Pete Buttigieg, who previously served 2 terms as the mayor of his hometown, South Bend, goes on to share his biography. And then Governor Jared Polis is an entrepreneur, education leader, public servant, and Colorado native. After launching several successful companies, including one out of his college dorm room, Polis committed himself to making sure other Coloradans had the opportunity to pursue their dreams. Polis founded schools for at-risk students and new immigrants and started nonprofits to help veterans and entrepreneurs. I mean, did they copy it from his campaign website? That sounds like something right out there, committed to making sure that all Coloradans can pursue their dreams. Again, why does a first grader got to learn that? What's the point of that?
Well, they go on to say things like, he's focused on saving Coloradans money. That's not true. My wallet says otherwise. Keeping our economy strong. I lost my job in this economy. Preserving our Colorado way of life. My life has been turned upside down here in Colorado. I mean, it's absolute propaganda.
Right. I mean, this is like right out of a Soviet Politburo. Read about how great your leaders are and how they help you achieve your dreams.
And let's talk about his sexuality, which is irrelevant in relation to his accomplishments. But they feel the need to force this on 6 and 7-year-olds in Colorado. Not just the propaganda that Polis is the greatest governor of all time, but let's talk about his sexuality to 6-year-olds.
Again, I just don't understand it, Bill. I mean, you're welcome to jump in here.
Well, I guess the question I've got on this is, I understand the pushback as far as first grade. Should this be taught in schools at all? And if so, at what level? When should it be introduced?
I mean, do we talk about any of our leaders' sexuality in any other capacity?
I'm just curious.
I don't know who Margaret Thatcher's husband is. I bet you Margaret Thatcher's husband is not mentioned in any textbook.
No, but what I'm curious about is the pushback is we shouldn't be teaching it to first graders. So I'm curious. Okay, if we shouldn't be teaching it to first graders, when? If at all.
And I'm asking, should we be talking about anybody's sexuality?
Okay. So we shouldn't talk about it at all.
Who do we talk about? Who else's sexuality do we talk about? I mean, we might mention that Barack Obama's married to Michelle, but we don't dive into his sexuality, right? Can't you just mention who their spouse is? Why do we got to talk about their affinities?
What do you mean by the affinities?
Like that they are like gay pride, right? You're getting into the idea of movement and sexual identities and stuff like that. So but do we talk about that with other people about their sexual identities?
Well, we do talk about the gay lifestyle. We do talk about that in a historical perspective as well in world history classes right now.
Aaron, do you think that this is more than just a historical analysis?
But I'm curious about this. So when? Let's go back to that. The question I'm asking,
and I'm asking probably never.
Okay, probably never. So you don't want it ever in the schools. How about Aaron?
Sexual identities and people's sexual identities and proclivities. I don't know why we have to talk about that at all.
Okay, Aaron, do you agree? Or
let me ask you, Bill. Did you ever learn about anyone's sexual proclivities in school? And if the answer is no, do you feel like you missed out on part of education where was your education less than because that part of the explanation of someone's accomplishments was left out in your education? I was never taught that in school, and I don't feel like I missed out on anything as a result of people's sexuality not being included in the conversation about their historical accomplishments.
Yeah, it was discussed in a variety of levels in different times inside of my schooling. Yeah, it was. And it would go back to as early as elementary school. Yes, people's sexuality was discussed. And I went to a private Catholic school. Yeah, it was.
But like in what context? Help me understand what it was discussed.
80s. Don't we remember the 80s?
But what was discussed?
AIDS, the AIDS epidemic, and what was going on with AIDS. That's about, and the idea was it was supposed to be about the gay lifestyle, etc., and what was going on and what were going on to that group of people. Yes. And then when you move forward, you get into things like marriage equality, you get into adoption equality. Yes, those things were discussed in schools.
Those
yes,
seem like historical conversations, but whose sexuality did you discuss?
Historical conversations to you, maybe. I was in elementary school in the 80s while the people were dying. Those were discussions and things we had in class. And I
wasn't it discussions about like be careful and all that stuff? Was it promoting? Was it promoting a sexual activity?
I disagree with the idea that you're saying the story of Harvey Milk or the other ones are promoting a sexual activity. It's a historical context. I don't think it's like, hey, let's go be gay together. I'm not getting that from. I understand why the interpretation's there. Yeah. But the idea that we just wash our hands of it and say, no, I mean, what do you do with any kid that asks, what does that pride flag mean? Or what's that rainbow flag? I like it. What do you tell them? What do you tell them? And they may not even see it. It doesn't even have to be in the classroom. It can be somewhere else. What do you tell them? How do you deal with it?
Aaron?
But that's separate from being mandated. I mean, there's conversation about it, and then there's mandated conversation about it with no requirement to alert parents that it's happening, so that parents can also be having meaningful conversations that align with what the teachers are teaching in the classroom. This is mandated. And I'll also point out, like, LGB aside, transgender and queer is now part of the mandate starting in first grade. So it's one thing to talk about people's sexuality. I believe that's how you're born, that's inherent. It's another thing to talk about transgender and queer with children. There's not even a real definition for queer. It's kind of like an umbrella term for the QIA ++- where everyone's part of the rainbow. So I'm wondering if
is being transgendered a choice, or is it genetic?
Oh, no, it's 100% a choice.
No.
In my case,
we've had this
all of it's a
conversation
choice.
before. And
I know.
I don't like to conflate LGB with T. I think LGB is accepting who you are and how you were born. Transgender is rejecting who you are and how you were born. They are very different things. And I know a lot of LGB people who don't like to be lumped into the category of TQ plus whatever, because they're not the same.
So you're telling me that transgender people are choosing that lifestyle?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. They choose whatever gender they want based on the day.
Yeah, but why would you choose that lifestyle? Why?
That's the $1 million question.
Yeah, it is.
I think that there's a social contagion going on. I agree with Abigail Schreier on this, that people struggling with stuff that's natural in their own bodies, puberty primarily, are being sold a bill of lies that this is somehow related to the idea that you are trapped in the wrong gender. And then the result of this is we are forcing kids to get parts of their body lopped off.
We're not forcing
and
that.
getting permanently sterilized.
That's incorrect. It's not forcibly happening, etc. And I disagree with that. I disagree with the idea of it happening prior to 18. But I'm curious why you think people would then choose this lifestyle, choose to be ostracized from the majority.
Contagion.
Hang on, choose to be, but it's a choice still. You're saying social contagion.
No, I don't think they're ostracized, man. I think they're throwing parades.
Wait, no, they're not.
Yes, they are.
Okay, go talk.
This culture right now is standing on the sideline applauding you.
Not in the least.
You embrace trans.
Not in the
100%.
Okay, talk to. You probably don't know any trans people. Talk to them about the idea of what bathroom. Okay, talk to them about the idea. Aaron, talk to them about the idea of what bathroom they use in public.
And I know transgender people who are very aligned with everything that I think. They agree it is a mental struggle that they deal with. And listen, I believe gender dysphoria is real. My daughter experienced it, and she came out on the other side and decided she didn't want to be a boy, that wasn't right for her. I think it's very real. But I think the amount of people who are identifying that way is not real. That's a result of, like Jeff said, social contagion of seeds like this, of first graders in the state of Colorado being taught what transgender is and taught that they don't have to be a boy if they don't want to be, and that they are brave pioneers who revolutionized transgenderism. I mean, when we're glamorizing it and glorifying it to first graders, of course there's going to be a higher percentage of people who are identifying as transgender, and I don't think it's authentic. My school district has come out and said that nearly 50% of kids in the Poudre School District are LGBTQ. Well, the whole premise for pushing these new academic standards is to make sure that minorities are represented. Well, how can you claim to be a minority? And that's your reasoning for pushing this on children, so they see themselves represented, but you're 50% of the school population. Riddle me that.
I'd love to see. I'd love to see the survey and the question, and also the sample size, because I do, like you, I question that result. But these same things about choice and these same things about choice and questions and indoctrination were said during the gay rights movement as well. It was the idea that how can we all of a sudden have all these gay people? All these gay people are just choosing this lifestyle. Why would you ever do that? It's the same thing. And the question I have is that I can't see a reason that someone would choose this type of lifestyle because of the persecution and shame our society shows them.
Billy, there's no persecution and shame. Every corporation out there changes its logo in June. Are you kidding me? There's no persecution and shame. The entire culture has embraced this thing.
Because they're trying to make it.
Persecution and shame comes on anyone who questions it. I experience it every single day.
Yeah, well, Aaron, I understand that,
being
but
pushed on kids. That's who gets persecuted.
Aaron, I have a transgender friend that was in a dance club this weekend and had a man stand there in front of them and laugh in their face and taunt them. That is public persecution and shame.
And I would say that's inappropriate. I would say that's inappropriate.
That's what happens to them on a regular basis.
Yeah, you should look at Erin's comments on her anytime she tweets.
And I agree with her and what happened to her daughter. That was wrong. We talked about it before as far as being indoctrination. But we have to also understand that because of how we treat transgender people in a society, there are some that when they leave their house, if they decide to dress the way they want, may not come home. They can be beaten up and end up in the hospital or killed just because of the clothing they are wearing and somebody else is uncomfortable with it.
When has that happened? Can you give an example of that happening?
I know two people. I know two people in my life that were threatened and one of them hit in the face because of how they were dressed, because they were dressed as what someone else determined to be the wrong gender. It's anecdotal, but it happens. And if I need to go do the research and find deeper examples, I can. I can. If I need to go do the research and find deeper examples for it, that's fine. I can.
All right, I want to get back to Erin's tweets here. Okay, she points this. Tell me if this is appropriate for first grade social studies. Together, these two transgender sex workers founded the group STAR, Street Transvestite Action Revolutionaries, which offered housing to homeless and transgender youth, a particularly vulnerable population. Johnson and Rivera recognized that many transgender people turn to sex work after being rejected by their families.
Yeah, I disagree. At the age of first grade, we should be talking about anything that deals with sex workers. Absolutely. That's fine. The Harvey Milk thing.
I don't think you should get to anything that's publicly funded. If you want to talk about sex workers, you can have that conversation in college.
I know, but that's the example of who you're using as far as how they created that. That seems irrelevant as far as them creating that at the first, second, or even third grade level. Seems completely and totally inappropriate and irrelevant. I agree with you guys on that. Absolutely. Yes.
Appropriate for fourth grade?
Possibly, depending on how it's described. Yeah. Could be.
Sex work?
Yeah.
For fourth graders.
Yeah.
I have a fifth grader. He ate mac and cheese for dinner last night and played video games. He is innocent. Would never in a million years would it be appropriate for someone to talk to my child.
But Aaron, I've got 4 kids. I've been a parent as well. I get it. But I'm telling you that if you're
the idea that the state would mandate that at fourth grade, man.
Here's the thing, though. If you haven't had the birds and the bees conversation with your kid by the time they're in fourth grade, there may be an issue. There may be an issue with choices they will make later on.
Sex work is not part of the birds and bees. You can explain the reproductive system without explaining how drag queens, drug addicts pimp children for money on the streets of New York.
Aaron, hang on. To be fair, that is a totally different description than sex worker. And I disagree with that description. I wouldn't present that to fourth graders. But can I say these were people that did X? They got paid to have sex with other people and they did this. Okay. I mean, again,
and that's your prerogative as a parent. Like, can we agree that as a parent, and I believe in parental rights. I believe parents should have the right to parent their own children. But I don't think we should mandate that every child in the state of Colorado learn the concept of sex work in fourth grade. think that should be up to the parent to decide. And another point to point out
it's
here.
It's not the parent's choice to decide, though, that, Aaron. It's the child's choice. And what I'm saying by that, and I understand the pushback on that, what I'm saying is the child has access to other information, and they can find that out.
Dude,
Acting
not
as if
at
it doesn't.
4th grade on sex work.
Yes, they can. They can go to the Google machine and look it up. They can go to the library. Yes.
Dude,
the information is available.
Mandating that, Billy?
Now, I'm not mandating the description. I'm not mandating the longer description that Aaron had, but I don't see the problem with the basic description in 4th grade. I don't see a problem with that specific description, just saying sex worker and explaining in a very hermetic example what it is. That's it. And then move forward from there. The focus of that group and talking about the people shouldn't be on that portion of their lifestyle. No, I disagree with that as far as bringing it forward. But I don't see the problem because they have that access to other information. They can get it if they want to, and then get it from their friends. They can talk about it with their friends. They have that experiences.
Well, Aaron Lee, I'll give you the
That's what
final
happens.
word here.
Yeah, I just want parents to be aware, pay attention, learn when these laws are being passed, show up to make your voice heard, research the standards, look through this curriculum, and parents know that there's no requirement to be notified that these lessons are happening. So it's now mandated starting in 1st grade, but there's no requirement to tell parents that it's happening like there is in comprehensive sex ed, which can't start till 4th grade. So ask questions, get in the classroom, pay attention to what's happening.
And Aaron,
It's not going to get better.
I appreciate you 110%. You are 110% right on the idea of doing this in 1st, 2nd, 3rd grade. 110%. I will stand with you all the way on that one. This should not be discussed in this way at that grade level. No way. You're absolutely right on that.
I don't understand how understanding and looking at the occupation of sex work helps any of our children prepare for life in their education, especially when we're failing them in math and reading and graduation rates already. All right, Aaron Lee, thank you so very much. If you want to follow Erin on X, she does a great job there. Erin for Parents on X, ERIN, and then the number 4 parents. And I'm going to have to take a second. All right. Aaron, thank you so much for being on.
Thanks a lot, Aaron.
Look, everyone always asks what makes advanced hair restoration different. Allow me to share, along with some details, and get this on their once-a-year summer savings event. First off, Advanced Hair stands by the results, and the before and afters are second to none. With Advanced Hair, your own natural hair is guaranteed to grow. Secondly, Advanced Hair combines top-rated physicians with modern technology, creating a concierge quality experience that's hard to find elsewhere. And lastly, Advanced Hair's Advanced FUE begins regrowing your own natural hair the very next day. It's quick. It's simple and it's easy. Now, if you have a flexible schedule this summer and you've been waiting for that special savings opportunity, it's here. Advanced Hair's summer savings event will get you the most hair for your dollar. It's their best offer ever. For details and to schedule your free consultation, call 720-459-HAIR. One-day treatment, life-changing results. Your new hair is guaranteed to grow. Before and afters are advancedhair.com. That's advancedhair.com. We'll continue with your calls and texts, and my goodness, they are coming in a lot. How old were you when you saw your first Playboy or Playgirl? I was in 2nd or 1st grade. Again, I don't understand the state mandating this and going, this is important for our kids to learn about. Marion Inglewood, she's not a fan of you, Bailey, this morning. I'll let you read that. 8505. I don't know what real Jeff lives in real world, but when I was in elementary school, 4th and 5th, I knew exactly what hookers were and other random topics about sex. All right. So how did that turn out in your life? Let me know. 303-696-1971 or text us on the 710 KNUS app. Happy to continue this conversation. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We're just, we're taking on all this different couch.
Yeah, sometimes the show off the air is better than the show on the air. We can't bring that one on the air. That's so much fun. That's why we're friends.
It is. We might need some group therapy sometimes.
I know there's so many things we disagree about, but then there's things we're like, that is fantastic.
Fox News reporting. Speaking of that, Fox News has a tweet out. Denver suburb rocked by huge increase in migrant gang violence. Biden-Harris administration is complicit. They linked to an interview that our friend John Fabricatori was talking about yesterday.
Hey.
He did a 3 a.m. hit on Fox and Friends. We love John here.
We do.
And I responded, nah, man, I watch Kyle Clark in Next News next on 9 News. The violence comes from bad landlords, apparently.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Bad landlords. And
that's what causes the violence.
And horrible small business owners. That's exactly what it is. They're organizing all these big giant protests.
And you white people afraid to go downtown.
Yes. And Kyle's super upset about the idea that we can't just defecate on the ground. Okay, I may have ascribing beliefs to him that may not be actually correct. So I'll try to
drink your microbrew, bro.
Yeah, it's just oh well.
8505. I didn't learn it from the teachers, but the kids all talk about it. We're talking about crackheads and hookers and all that stuff. Our previous conversation with Aaron Lee as to why first and second graders have to learn about sex workers mandated by social studies in the state of Colorado. And is that appropriate? Mary in Inglewood, Aaron is right. Parents can discuss what they believe they need to about usual or inappropriate sexual topics, but it has no place in schools. I was thinking about this last night. We had our back to school night, Bill. And I was thinking, do you know what the one thing a school can do in this country to absolutely make sure that they never receive any government funding? There's really only one thing you can do.
Be a religious affiliated school.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
You can have, if you have God at the center of your education, so you can be a poor performing school, a really poor performing school, still get the government check. You can push a leftist agenda. You could have as many pride flags as you want. You can have drag queen story hour. You can do voter registration for Barack Obama if you wanted to. Nearby that school, you could be as progressive as you want. But the one thing that our society has deemed totally inappropriate for any type of public funding is if you put God at the center of your education.
Yeah, except to give them tax breaks. So things like that, and especially churches are tax-free. So it's not as if we just, pound on them. And I was thinking, and Aaron was talking about examples of people being attacked and such. I've got one that it didn't even hit me until just like literally 60 seconds ago that I forgot. There is in a high school here in Colorado, there is a transgender teacher.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of years ago, some of the students beat her up.
That's horrible.
School. I know.
Nobody's advocating.
I know,
for
but
that.
because of being transgender and how the person chose to dress.
Right.
And Aaron was challenging me on this happening. These were a group of students that beat up a teacher. I have other examples we can go through. So the idea that it doesn't happen, I just want to say, this is how serious this can be for someone that is transgender walking outside of the door of their home on a daily basis, depending on how they're dressed and whether or not someone else in their society deems it appropriate or a mental illness. It may end up with a hospital stay. This teacher spent time in the hospital because of this, and these were students that attacked them. That's an issue.
Do you think, though, that you could, I mean, if the concern is, so I feel like we're jumping around here.
Oh, yeah.
If the concern is like, one, we shouldn't be teaching this to kids, but I also don't want somebody to be beat up.
Yeah.
And I think if you taught religion, particularly in schools, and the idea of loving your neighbor as yourself and being a kind and compassionate person, even with people you disagree with, that would do a lot. It wouldn't solve all of our problems, but it'd do a lot to making our society more compassionate, don't you think?
And how come the people that are outside of the drag queen story hours are aligning themselves with religion? Why?
Do you think they're the same thing? Do you think protesting drag queen story hours and beating up The trans are the same thing.
What I'm saying is, you said the injection of religion
Yeah,
would make
would
everybody more
stop-
compassionate.
I
And what
think
I'm
it would.
saying is, there are people that are outside of libraries and other things.
Yeah, who don't want that
protesting
stuff taught to kids.
and protesting, not taught. The drag queen's reading a story, a book. They're not
Right.
going in and saying,
To
"Hey,
kids.
this is." That's the issue. Is you're saying that if we gave the religion, we'd be more compassionate.
Right.
I don't hear the compassion in the drag queen is sitting there reading a book to kids, so we
Right.
hate the drag queen.
That's the balance between grace and truth.
But you're
So
what do you mean by truth?
they're
What
leaning
truth?
on truth that you should not be teaching kids about being transgender.
Wait, the drag queen's reading a story. It's not
Oh,
teaching
come
the
on,
kids
dude.
anything.
The whole point that she's there is to promote the idea of transgenderism.
I'm not sure I would say promote, but then again, not teaching about it, not sitting there and saying, "Hey, kids, this is how you can be a transgender person, and isn't this great? And let's go all do each other's
Oh, I
makeup."
totally
That's not what they're
disagree,
doing.
man.
That's not what happens.
It's-
That's not what happens, and it's the religious people outside, the people that you just said. If we had more God, they would be more compassionate. And there's an
Right.
example of them not being compassionate or understanding, because other parents may
I
have
don't
made a
think
different
you have to
choice.
sacrifice truth in order to be compassionate. I'm talking about the idea of beating people up. And I think you've conflated the two, and I don't think that's right.
Well, I'm
The
just saying
idea
people that are
that
objecting are the religious
the other
organizations.
person outside going, this shouldn't be done with kids, is not the same as jumping somebody and throwing fists at them.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that if you're saying that injecting more religion and belief in God is going to make
Yes,
people compassionate,
it will.
I don't see it, because it is the people that have already claimed God and wrapped that mantle around
That are
them
punching
that
trans
are-
people?
Okay. I would submit, I don't know 110%, but I would submit that the people that attacked this teacher probably
come on.
come from a
But
religious
you
household.
don't know that.
But what is more likely? Based on how the religious conservative
Yeah.
side reacts to it, what's more likely? That they were a bunch
that
of liberal
that
kids?
they're Bible believing, church attending evangelicals or Roman Catholics?
I'm
No
not
way.
saying-
I don't believe that. I don't know, but you don't know either.
But what is more likely?
You're,
What are the ones-
you're in
what are the
total
ones?
speculation.
Yes, because what we have here is when the parents that stood up during the performance at the fairground here locally, they were all aligned and talked
Yes.
about religion and what churches they went to
And
and
they
everything.
didn't punch
Yes.
anybody.
No, but I'm talking about compassion. The other
You don't
parents,
have to agree with somebody. You can protest and still be a compassionate person.
but
I'm talking about throwing
hang on a sec,
fists.
Hang on a sec, though. They were not. There were other parents that made different choices than what they wanted. And those parents, according to this group, weren't allowed to make the choice and shouldn't be allowed to make that choice. That's the
Out
issue.
in public
That's-
was the concern that they had in the
Yeah.
promotion of this ideology
Okay.
out in public.
I know, but they're not being compassionate or understanding, are they?
Why?
Why?
Because they
someone
have
else may make
difference of opinion. They're
Yeah.
not punching people.
They can
That's not being
but
not compassionate.
They can have a difference of opinion.
and
but
so they're not
also talking about-
compassionate
they're
because
also-
they have a difference of opinion.
because they're not respecting other parents to make a different choice. They don't want the parents to make that choice. That's the issue.
That's not the issue.
Yeah,
The
it is.
issue is not that the other parents are making that choice. Is that this thing is being promoted as family friendly and out in public, and it's not. You had
No, it's not
lots
from-
of
hang on a
evidence
sec.
prior to
No.
that it wasn't family friendly.
No. And that's from where you are based on where you're
Dude, the
in the
dude's
religion.
top fell off.
That was
How's that family friendly?
I know, but it
Prosthetic
fell.
breasts.
I know, but it fell off. It apparently wasn't meant to do that, and they changed the rules afterwards. So they changed. They self-corrected. They weren't promoting
Billy,
that. They weren't saying, "Hey, come here and look at the fake
We're
people that are
so
naked."
over time.
Yeah, we are.
This is one of those Wednesdays. Is it hot
Yes, it
in
is.
here or is it just me? All right. Pain from arthritis is just awful. Bone on bone, constant pain. It robs you of so much of the stuff you love to do. But there are effective ways to deal with that pain. And I'm not talking about drugs or surgery. Listen, there are exciting new cellular therapies that can get you lasting relief. And the place to go, QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics uses cutting-edge treatments that accelerate your own body's healing properties, revitalizing your joints so you can move again. If you're living with chronic pain from arthritis or injury, you need to know that steroids and surgery and pain pills are no longer your only option. Learn how QC Kinetics can use advanced regenerative medicine to treat the pain, enhance your joints, restore your mobility, and give you long-term relief with no downtime. The local medical professionals at QC Kinetics are ready to help you get your life back with regenerative, restorative cellular treatments for your achy joints. This is the future of medicine. Call for a free consultation now. 303-900-8986. That's 303-900-8986. QCkinetics.com. with locations in Aurora, Superior, Colorado Springs, and Highlands Ranch. We'll continue with the very spicy Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Just some appropriate love-making music.
No, this is Regulate.
Regulate with Warren G.
Yeah,
right.
It's not nothing. It's more something else. It's just more like hanging out with the community.
He does some of the, we hosted Erin Lee. She's a parental rights activist. She raised some concerns that in order to be, quote, a prepared graduate, first graders need to be learning about sex work. In previous generations, they arrested people that taught kids about that in first grade. We'll get to more of this and more. Next is Paul and Dean. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS. We're going to make more people mad.
Well, it is 9 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show on 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. It's a beautiful day in the greatest country in history. So we're gearing up for a whole nother hour of engaging discussions, critical analysis, and most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. And my goodness, is your voice being heard. That's part because Billy and I just decided to take on every sacred cow out there. from abortion issues in the 6 o'clock hour to transgenderism in public schools in the 8 o'clock hour. In the 9 o'clock hour, Paul Lundin is going to join us. He's the Senate Minority Leader. Coming up right after the news and commentary from Blake Olson. He is the top Republican in the Senate. He's going to give us a little insight into how the Senate Republicans feel about the deals being made down at the state capitol to try to lower your property taxes. Get insight from him you're not going to want to miss. Let's check in on the news with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Good morning, Jeff and Billy. Wow, what a show. What a show. 71 and sunny, expecting a high of 93 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story.
So the legislature passed the law 1192 in 2019. Then the State Board of Ed voted on standards in November of 22. And now they're requiring that LGBTQ be taught to all students in history and civics starting in first grade.
Oh, hell no.
How about no? Aaron Lee, parental rights advocate. You can laugh, Jeff. On with Jeff and Billy last hour, director of Protect Kids Colorado. Just disgusting. Attacking young children's minds like first graders in Colorado. Hey, do what you want as an adult, but stop trying to groom the kids, okay? And Lee is leading the way, fighting back on this garbage. Colorado Department of Education ready to roll the materials out. Excuse my roll the materials out.
And what we found embedded within these materials is outrageous. I mean, inaccurate, age inappropriate. They're talking about, Harvey Milk, the Stonewall riots, Marsha and Sylvia, who were not transgender. They were drug addict drag queens who pimped out children in order to supply their drug habit. And these are people who are being glorified and glamorized. And these concepts of sex work and drug use and children being able to sell their bodies are part of suggested curriculum for first graders in the state of Colorado now.
How about no? That's ridiculous. Are you kidding me? Historic figures did you're talking about education of historic figures or whatever. And what they did in their bedroom is irrelevant for kids in elementary, middle, and high school, in my opinion.
I'm with you.
Seriously. You know what? I didn't know about Ben Franklin, Jeff, and all his activities until college. Or how about, ladies of the night in the Old West? We didn't talk about that.
I actually lived in a brothel at one point, but we don't have to get too much into that.
Did.
But
you did. But you know what? It was just a brothel, and
it was an old one.
Into it.
The Christians, a Christian ministry had bought it up in Buena Vista.
That's
and,
right.
And it happened to provide lots of little rooms, just perfect for housing young Christians that were looking to work up there. But no, I mean, it's mandated.
Yeah, hey, how about this for history? How about we mandate what Bill Clinton did in the Oval Office? Is that okay? Or maybe the life of Barry Soetoro. Can we do that? And maybe what the stories and the news about him. Should we teach that?
And Blake, to cap this all off, you want to know what really makes the educators in Colorado angry? What's the idea that you would hang the 10 Commandments.
Oh yeah, it's a joke.
So we'll go hang
religion.
all this stuff. We're happy to hang all this stuff. We're happy to
Hang
teach you about the sexual lifestyles of these historic figures. But how dare you put the 10 Commandments up in a classroom? That's where we are as a culture. We are saying that we are happy to spend our tax dollars in one direction and totally preventing tax dollars from being spent on education if you happen to put God at the center of the educational process.
See, when stuff like this happens, that's when I say, you know what? I'm with Dave Williams, okay? I mean, You know, this is amazing. Colorado lawmakers expected to vote on 3 bills today in a special session to tackle soaring property taxes. Republican State Rep Rose Puglisi, I'm all upset about this, on with Jeff and Bill last hour. And Puglisi reminds Coloradans a couple of important points.
The 2 things that I really want people to know. One is, you're taking a risk. So if 108 and 50 don't pass, you won't get additional property tax relief. If 108 passes, that tax relief will not come until 2026. So your property taxes will go up and then they'll go back down. And I think for a lot of people who are struggling today to make ends meet, they really need help today. And so this will be immediate relief that they can feel and see. And I think having that certainty is so important.
The compromise reached with 2 groups backing Propositions 50 and 108 are among the bills slated to be voted on, and those call for deeper tax cuts than what was enacted earlier this year. If the bills pass the House, they head to the Senate. Kamala Harris hasn't faced the press or done a serious interview for nearly 40 days. I think we're on day 37, and now she's going to sit down with Dana Bash of CNN, only if Timmy Walls sits down beside her and guides her through the night with the light above. So stuff like this doesn't happen. What a fraud.
We also have a broken immigration system.
We're going to have 2 million people cross this border for the first time ever. You're confident this border is secure?
We have a secure border, in that is a priority for any nation, including ours and our administration. But there are still a lot of problems that we are trying to fix.
Because it's a Marxist ideology. And if you go back 3 or 4 years and you look at her statements, even running for office, she was raising her hand for every bad. You can't have any personal insurance, personal life insurance, or any form of insurance. You have to be in a big government pool. That's Marxism. In other words, if you want to have insurance, you worked hard, you want to pay more and have a great insurance plan, health insurance. She doesn't want you to have that.
Former President Trump has been indicted again for allegedly interfering with the 2020 election. They've indicted him because they just missed assassinating him on July 13th. Evil. The Douglas County Sheriff's Office has recovered 17 stolen vehicles and arrested 11 people in response to an uptick in car thefts and garage burglaries. Police say one suspect broke into a garage while armed with a gun, while another is linked to a gunpoint carjacking. There were 33 car thefts reported in Douglas County last month alone, and investigators are working to see if the suspects they have in custody could be linked to additional cases. Authorities are investigating a brazen theft in which a computer and a bag were taken from a vehicle while a 9-year-old child was inside. It happened Tuesday morning while the car was parked in front of Cougar Run Elementary in Highlands Ranch. The child wasn't harmed during the theft, and the suspect fled the scene in a black SUV. He's described as a white man with dark hair, who was wearing a dark shirt and had a mask over his nose and mouth. Another reason we don't want to wear masks anymore. All right, it's Wednesday. I'll let Jeff and Bill take over. 67 in Castle Rock, 68 Northland, 71 in Denver. That is Wednesday right there by Rob Mullins, who was on the show yesterday. Have a great day. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Sunny and warm. Temperatures reaching the low 90s today. There's a very small chance of an isolated gusty thunderstorm this evening, and lows tonight, lower 60s. It'll be cooler Thursday, sunny, low 80s, 50s Thursday night, mid to upper 80s Friday. Highs will be in the 80s to near 90 for Labor Day weekend. Isolated thunderstorms Sunday and Monday. Weather sponsored by branchplanning.com. Secure your future retirement with a reliable income stream annuities can provide. Guaranteed payments giving you peace of mind. Get your complimentary review at branchplanning.com or call 303-219-0088. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
he's one of my absolute favorites down at the state capitol. I think he's doing a fantastic job leading the Republicans in the state Senate is Paul Lundeen. Paul, thanks so much for being on the Jeff and Bill show.
Hey, Jeff, Bill, it's good to be with you this morning. How you guys doing?
Well, we're doing better than getting drug into a special session like you have been, interrupting your August break. Give us a sense of how it's going down there from your perspective as a Republican leader in the Senate.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. You're correct. It's a bit of a nuisance to be under the gold dome because whenever the legislature is in session, no one's life, liberty, or property are safe. However, in this particular instance, the people being drugged back into the building are the Democrats. We, the Republicans, have been banging the drum for several years now that we need to provide property tax relief. The number one issue when you're on doorsteps talking to the people of Colorado right now is housing affordability. What can government do about housing affordability? They can cut some property taxes, and that's what we've been pushing for. In the 23 session, the Democrats, in the last couple of days of the session, rammed through Senate Bill 303, which delivered Proposition HH to the November 23 ballot. The people of Colorado said no by a landslide. That doesn't look like what we want for property tax. Republicans last session in 24, we were able to get Senate Bill 233, which provided some relief for property taxes for the people of Colorado. And our partners outside the building said, we've got 50 on the ballot already. We're going to continue forward to get 108 on the ballot. Both 50 and 108 are now qualified for the ballot. And that is the leverage point at which we were able to drag the Democrats back into the building to look at what we have been pointing at for more than 2 years as what meaningful property tax relief would look like. So we're finally at this place where Republicans have been demanding Democrats that are the commonsensical Democrats. And keep in mind, this is this discussion bill. It's hanging on by a thread. The progressive Democrats do not want this to pass because they want every nickel they can keep their hands on in the hands of government instead of in the pocketbooks of the people. And progressive Democrats are saying no, no, hell no, no.
Really? So this thing is not a sure deal. And I know Michael Fields has said he's not going to pull those two ballot initiatives, 50 and 108, until it's signed and delivered. As you look, we're on day 3 of the special session. Do you think the Democrats can get their own caucus in order and get this across the finish line?
Well, and that is the open question. It's the way the Constitution works, the way the rules work. You can pass a bill if it's an agreed upon bill through the process in 3 days. Well, on Monday, because they did not have the votes to advance it through the House, the Democrats in the House took a stutter step and cost a day. So we're going to have a 4-day session at this point. We will not be able to finish constitutionally until tomorrow because the vote count was so close. They were unsure whether they would have the votes to get this compromise bill through because the progressive Democrats are unwilling to let the people hang on to their own property tax dollars.
Talking with Paul Lundeen, he's the Senate Minority Leader. That means he's the top Republican in the state Senate. Paul, one of the critiques we're getting, comments here, text messages, as well as I'm seeing it on X. Why did Republicans have to go negotiate? We had 50, we had 108, we had the wind at our back. We could have just pressed this through and gotten everything that we wanted. What's wrong with negotiating here?
Well, what's wrong with negotiating? Nothing's wrong with negotiating because here's the circumstance. 50 and 108 are uncertain. It's millions of dollars. And for me, it's like a tax cut, of course. And quite frankly, most of my conservative friends out there in the community say, tax cut initiative, of course, that's going to pass for sure. Yeah. But when the other side, the teachers union, the firefighters, everyone is lining up to say, oh no, it's the end of the world. We won't be able to have schools. Fire trucks will never be bought. It is the end of all humanity. And they're spending millions of dollars pushing that kind of a message. All of a sudden, what seems obvious to you and me, Jeff and Bill, a tax cut, it founders. It can be in trouble. And so the fact that 50 and 108 are on the ballot is one thing. But the deal isn't done till the check clears the bank, and that will take millions of dollars on our side to counteract the arguments against 50 and 108. That's issue number one. Issue number two is, even if 108 were to pass, $1.3 billion in the bank property tax savings that we were able to lock up with Senate Bill 233 would evaporate. That would go away. And that means no tax cuts in 24 and 25. The people paying taxes would not see tax relief until 26 under 108 if it did in fact prevail. So it's for me, I'm a business guy. When you got $1.3 billion in the bank, you keep it. And then you add to it, as opposed to, I'm going to throw the $1.3 billion away and hope that I can replace it with something in the future. It's kind of we've got a bird in the hand, the $1.3 billion, and there may be two birds in the bush. We have to wait 2 years to find out if there's two birds in the bush. I'm going to take the bird in the hand.
Now, we spoke earlier with Rose Puglisi, and she had said that the idea of preventing future votes on a ballot initiative around tax reductions that the Democrats were pushing.
That's unconstitutional on its face.
Right.
That's just unconstitutional on its
that's
face.
not going anywhere, that's popped up, but y'all were able to shut that down. We don't have to worry about that coming out of this special session.
Well, yes and no. The reality is, I think that is advancing in the House. It'll be on third readings today. If they kill it on thirds, that would be great. But that will be a battleground in the Senate, because something of that nature, even though it's unconstitutional on its face, that particular idea is a deal killer. I mean, we've got this discussion bill where we're discussing and trying to get to agreement that would kill the potential for an agreement. And if that happened, then we'd lose the $1.3 billion that's already in the bank. That'll go away. And 50 and 108 would advance to the ballot, and we'd have to fight and scrap like the Dickens to make sure that 50 and 108 pass.
Paul Lundeen, you're the Senate Minority Leader. You had some important victories this last year. You stopped the assault weapons ban in the Senate. Give us a sense, kind of pull back the curtain. What does it look like for the Republicans in the state Senate right now, trying to navigate when you're in the minority, but you're not in a super minority? So you have some leverage there and working alongside your Democratic colleagues.
Yeah, you absolutely. And you put your finger right on it, Jeff. It's the absence of a super minority in the state Senate gives us a purchase on some degree of authority. What that does is this gives us in the Senate and House, House currently, the Republicans in the House are in a super minority. So they don't have any of these advantages we have. We can, in the Senate, either sustain or overturn a gubernatorial veto. So if Polis shakes his head and says, I don't like that bill, and the Democrats and the progressive wing of that team push it through the House again, gets to the Senate, we could say, nope, we are going to sustain that veto. We don't like that bill. So that's one of the things that we have in terms of authority in the super, not being in the super minority. Another thing is referred measures to the ballot, like we're talking about. If they're going to the Constitution, like 50 would go to the Constitution, there is a mechanism where a supermajority in the House, a supermajority in the Senate can pass through and refer something to the ballot, and they get to choose the language. They can say the sun will come up an extra half hour early every day. Every child gets an extra puppy dog for their 5th birthday. And all the people that like coffee get 2 cups every morning. They could say the most pleasing, wonderful things, and it goes on the ballot. It doesn't have to go through the title board, and that's what the people of Colorado would be confronted with. Since we don't have super minority, we can stop that cold. And we had this last session, an issue that would have upended the tort world. I mean, I'm getting into wonky legal language now, but would have taken away a statute of limitations, and insurance companies would have said, that's it. Colorado's closed for business. We are out. And it would have decimated elements of the Colorado economy because it would have pushed insurance companies out of the state. We, as the Senate Republican team, were able to stop that cold. That's something we were able to do because we're not in the super minority. Another thing that's just inside baseball for us is we in the Senate have permanent rules by virtue of the fact we're not in the super minority. So super minority or not really matters, and we're one vote shy. And that's this upcoming November election is going to be a struggle. They are doing everything they can to push us into a super minority. We're doing everything we can to stay out of a super minority.
Paul Lundeen, Senate Minority Leader, joining Jeff and Bill live. We appreciate your time, and I want to put a pin on what Paul was just saying there about how important it is to be able to have more Republicans in the state legislature in order to push back on the crazy ideas many of the Democrats have. The only reason that we are having these special session right now is because we had just enough of our representation have ours by their name to make sure the Democrats couldn't grab all of your money, especially Tabor. And that's where I'm going, Paul, on this one. I know that the Democrats have understood that publicly asking for our Tabor refunds is not very good. But what's going on behind the scenes? Because you know, I know, Jeff knows, and our listeners know they want Tabor so bad they can taste it. And this is an excellent excuse for them to get what they want. What are they trying to do behind the scenes to make sure they can grab our Tabor refunds?
It is constant. It is unrelenting. There's two big differences in philosophies around the Taxpayer Bill of Rights. My philosophy is it is a check that enables the economy of Colorado to remain as vibrant as possible. You look at what's happening in New York, you look at what's happening in California, where government is, Democrats are in super majorities in all cases, and they drive bill after bill through that clamps down on the productive economy. People are fleeing Colorado or California, heaven forbid. Actually, people are, with the inflow of people in Colorado has diminished in the last several years. People are beginning to sniff out the challenges we have here, but people are fleeing California because the economy is getting choked. Tabor protects. The Taxpayer Bill of Rights protects the government from growing too fast by saying, not so fast, big government. You can't grow faster than population growth plus inflation. Well, the Democrats want the money that should be refunded back to the people of Colorado when we're collecting, the state government is collecting more than that population growth plus inflation. The Democrats want to hang on to that extra money. This last session, I ran Senate Bill 228. We were able to get it through. We cut the income tax rate, largest income tax cut in Colorado history, in order to prevent money from being taken out of people's pocketbooks in the first place, so that it goes into that big piggy bank, which is this Tabor surplus refund money. It's the piggy bank for the people. The Democrats are constantly wanting to put their fingers in that Tabor refund piggy bank, and they will do anything they possibly can to get at them. They run bill after bill, different ideas come along, rejiggering how the refund mechanism works so that it's no longer a refund, but a redistribution. They are constantly assaulting Tabor, the Taxpayer Bill of Rights, and we need to fight to defend that, because it is something that keeps the money in the hands of the people, which means it's in the hands of the productive economy, which means it's good for the future of Colorado.
Paul Lundeen, Senate Minority Leader. We've only got a few more minutes with you. I know you're very busy down at the special session. Give us a sense of the most important, critical swing races to watch in the state Senate this year. Not everybody's up for re-election. That's the way the Senate works. So there's a certain number that are. You're going after some competitive seats. Who should we keep an eye on?
You bet. There are 5 races that really matter, and we must win 3 of the 5, either holds or takeaways, whatever, but we must win 3 of the 5 in order to stay above that critical super minority threshold that we talked about earlier. Up in Weld County, there is Senate District 13, a great candidate named Scott Bright, small businessman. He's been engaged in his community. His business is preschools and early childhood education. He's got 25 learning centers, helping his community, helping the people of Weld County and the environs around there have a better, stronger life. Common sense guy, gets it. Scott Bright, Senate 13. That's one of the competitive races. Cleve Simpson down in the southwest corner of the state. He has a district that really is, I call it the southwest quarter of Colorado. It's an enormous geographical district. He's in Alamosa. represents all the way over to Durango, Cleve Simpson. He is Mr. West Slope. He is Mr. Water. He is the guy that fights for that. You know, Jeff, I see in your cowboy hat all the time. That is part of the ethic. That is part of the ethos of Colorado.
Cleve
We're
is great.
Westerners.
Yeah.
We are Westerners, and water is critically important to us. Cleve is a champion for that. Are we out of time? Because I got a couple more.
No,
I'm gonna
please
talk
go.
about.
I was just agreeing with you. Cleve is great.
Cleve is spectacular. Cleve Simpson, Senate District 6. In the central part of the state, also on the western slope, but the central part of the state, the resort communities and a lot of the ag areas surrounding them. Mark Catlin, who's in the House now, is running for Senate District 5. Mark has got a scrap on his hands, but he is, you know, he's one of those common sense guys. He is a hail fellow, well met. The people of that area that know Mark, love Mark. We're just trying to make sure more and more people get to know who Mark is, because the minute they meet him, the minute they learn about him, they say, Mark Catlin, that's the guy I want in Denver representing my interests. Then there's two more. Senate 12, which is on the west side of Colorado Springs. It's currently the Bob Gardner seat. Stan Vanderwerf, County Commissioner from El Paso County, is running for that seat. And then up in Senate 16, which is the Centennial area, Robin Carnes, one of the rock stars, one of the bright lights of the future of Republican politics in Colorado, is running for Senate 16. She is a great candidate. And another one where if we can just get the word out to people who to know who Robin Carnes is, they love her the minute they know her, and she has the potential to win that. We've got to win 3 of those 5, and we're going to scrap and fight to do everything we can to make that happen.
I think that's a great lineup, and I know Robin, she's been on the show, very talented, would do a great job as a stateswoman, one of those just very reasonable, down-to-earth, smart, and I think she's already on the city council of
she is.
Of Littleton,
Centennial
right?
City
Centennial.
Council. Yeah.
Right.
And so the special session, it's a win for Republicans. We've been able to drag the Democrats back into a conversation to get meaningful tax reform. Let's stay with this discussion, Bill. Let's deliver it. Let's keep the $1.3 billion we already have in the bank. Let's not let that get taken off the table. Let's continue to fight. And that's why we need 3 of those 5, or all 5 of the 5, to bring that kind of common sense. Leave the money with the people. Reduce property taxes. Government grows well enough on its own. We don't need to encourage it.
That's exactly right.
Keep more common sense people in the state Senate.
So I know he gave us a lot of names, and Paul, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you wanted to give to be able to support all of them, it's the Senate Majority Fund. Is that right? That's the one big pot that will all help all the Senate Republicans.
Absolutely. Senate Majority Fund. We're very visible online. You can find us that way. Paul Lundeen, you can find me. Be happy to chat with anybody in detail. Senate Majority Fund is a place to go, and that is part of the IEC soft side effort, where we have, the ability. We can't coordinate, but we have the ability to participate in all 5 of those critical races.
Paul Lundeen, Senate Minority Leader, top Republican down in the Colorado State Senate, fighting the good fight. Paul, thanks so much for taking time out of a very busy, demanding day to join the Jeff and Bill show.
And thanks so much for fighting.
Jeff, Bill, thanks so much, guys. You keep telling the story. We need it. We need it. We need it.
That's right.
And you keep fighting. Keep fighting. Keep fighting. Keep fighting.
I like to point out that Bill wants more Republicans down at the State House.
Yes, I do. Absolutely.
I like that, Billy.
I'm unusual. I am a dichotomy wrapped in an enigma. And the idea is, I understand that I have expressed some things that seem incredibly liberal today, but I also say that the idea is that many Democrats have absolutely horrible ideas as well. And that if we have more Republicans down there being able to push back, we're probably going to come to a median that is going to be more tenable for everybody in the state and going to make the state better. The last thing I want is the Democrats to be able to run whatever the heck they want through the legislature, because I've seen the choices they make. And I question them regularly on the show.
Hey, if you're considering selling your home, go with the team that is not only going to give you top level service, but will help you earn more from the sale of your home than any other agent. I adore Gay Ribble. She has been in the studio multiple times to answer your questions about the housing industry here in Colorado and the market and how things are going. She is a proven agent that gets more for her sellers because they have ready buyers looking for a home in your area. Look, You want to hire somebody that's delightful to work with, that will help you through the stress of selling a home. She's that type of person. She's a real pro, and she has more than 14,700 buyers ready to go. Look, I know you got family members and friends and neighbors that want to be your real estate agent and get that home sold for you. But at the end of the day, this is a business deal for your family. You need to get the most amount of money out of it so that you can benefit them. They have an immediate advantage with 14,700 buyers ready to go. They'll sit down and go through it with you, and that puts more money in your pocket after closing. They will sell your home at your price, or Gay will buy it herself. Guaranteed. Reach out to my friends and realtors, Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team of Keller Williams. Call 833-301-SOLD. That's 833-301-SOLD, or go to gayasthebuyers.com. That's GAYE hasthebuyers.com. We'll continue with your calls and texts. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Lots of good text messages here. Joan from Lakewood is suspicious of this negotiation that's taking place down there. She raised an interesting point.
Yeah.
Polis was required to call the special session because 5108 would drive out big people, a large turnout, not just big people, all people, but a large turnout and that would be a threat to what they're trying to do here in Colorado.
And I think to outline that, she means conservative turnout.
Yes.
I think so. It's more Republican. It would energize more conservative votes to make sure that they get out there.
Wait, Trump's not doing that enough here in this state?
I don't think so. And the reason why is because Trump's
Dick Wilden's not voting for him.
That Trump's not going to win the state. And so the idea of... And
he's not even coming to the state.
And we've heard that from a couple of different listeners and texters over the last few months, that this is a lost cause as a state for Trump, and that it's going to, the electoral college votes are going to go to Harris or Biden, whoever the Democrats have running at that time, regardless. And so I think Joan is right in seeing that Polis viewed this as a negative, and he also viewed it as if it runs through the initiative process, then he doesn't get everything that he wants either, because it is 180 degrees away from what the Dems want.
Right.
And so he's looking at not only driving conservative turnout, but also losing what he wants, which is more of our monies. He wants lots more of our monies. So yeah, I think
the
Joan's
libertarian governor, the great libertarian governor.
And again, Jeff's
I
using
love
that in
how
air
you
quotes.
laugh at that.
I know, because then Jeff uses that in air quotes because that's how he is portrayed when he goes on some conservative media outlets, because they like him.
Dana Perino.
I was waiting.
Breaking my heart. Breaking my heart,
I was wondering
Dana
if you're going to go there, my
Perino.
friend. I was wondering if you're going to go there.
Give me a call or text message. Do you think this negotiation's a good deal? We're not going to get everything that we wanted, but again, Michael Fields, who got the signatures, would have to spend millions of more dollars in order to get this across the finish line.
Yeah.
And it's not guaranteed, especially when they run out there and go, schools are going to shut down, firefighters are not going to respond to your house, all because of these property tax cuts, and whether or not the electorate would vote that way.
And we've got that weird abortion initiative as well. That's out there to drive, so he could there could be a loss there. So I think he is trying. And for me, I would take the deal now. On the conservative side, I would take the deal now, and I would listen to what Paul Lundeen is talking about as far as the number of seats the Republicans still need. If we can hang on to those seats or expand even by a couple of seats in the Senate, and please expand it inside of the House, now you've got more leverage the next time this comes around. Yeah. You've got the ability to go back and get the other stuff you need. Right now, I would take the deal that you can get on the table now and then get the other stuff later, knowing that you're not going to have to spend the money going after the initiative. You don't have to promote that. You can funnel that cash somewhere else into local races to get more R's inside of the Gold Dome. I think it's a smart strategy. Is it going to be a winning strategy right now that we're all going to be super happy about it? No. But can it pay dividends right now? Can it pay dividends this fall? And can it pay dividends over the next 4 years? Yes. Yes, it can, as long as everybody is in the boat rowing together and knowing this is a strategy. And I think it's a very, very smart strategy, because we know what's going to happen if the Democrats get more seats. We know what's going to happen.
I'll tell you this, that it feels like Paul Lundeen and Rose Puglisi are doing a great job down there.
Yeah.
You don't have the drama?
No.
That you heard about in previous leadership spaces that took place down there. It seems they got their teams organized. It's not a big team.
No.
But they got their teams organized. They seem focused. And to Paul Lundeen's credit, they stopped in a bipartisan way the assault weapons ban in the Senate.
Yep.
So
very, very smart. They can get those things done. And going back to the earlier conversation we had with Aaron Lee about things that are creeping into the curriculum of our schools, things that even Jeff and I agree that they should not be there as early as first grade. Absolutely should not be there. But we get that because we don't have enough R's.
Yep.
You can put that, if you dislike what's happening, then get more R's under the Gold Dome, and you've got a chance to fight back at this. That's what you got to do.
Billy, why don't you tell us about Balanced Wealth Space?
Oh, absolutely. This is incredible. In fact, Kelly Michaels here, our operations manager and the big boss, was commenting on my super nice knee brace. Now, I got it recently from Balance Wellspace. Let me tell you about it. Balance Wellspace is integrative medicine. It's a group that does everything that can take care of you. All the stuff, all the pain, all those niggling problems you got, chiropractor, neuropathy, physical rehabilitation, wave therapy, regenerative care, trigger point injections, and more, all under one roof. That's the difference maker for Balance Wellspace, integrative medicine. Over the course of my life, I've done a lot of really dumb things, not just opening my mouth sometimes on this radio show. We're talking about physical stuff, things that I fell off of, things that I tried to jump, things that I broke. I've had several surgeries, and I am paying for them. When I was a kid, I thought, hey, this is going to be a problem for old Bill. Well, now I'm old Bill, and it's a problem, and it sucks. I have been living my life in daily pain for years, well over a decade. It is ridiculous, and I know that you're dealing with the same thing, and you don't have to. You don't have to deal with that pain, and I've got a team that can take it away for you. It is Balance Wellspace. What you do is you show up at the office, balancewellspace.com to contact them, balancewellspace.com. The team evaluates you. They take a look at what you're doing. They move you, they poke you, they prod you, they take all the pictures, but also they have a conversation with you. 1, about what hurts. 2, what is that pain stopping you from doing? What is it that you're not doing anymore? Because we know that you get in that daily pain. There are things you stop doing because they hurt. It don't have to live that way. So Balance Wellspace then creates a custom pain plan that is targeted just at your issues and where you want to be. Then they go to work. You go in there and it is a 1-day office appointment. You go in there and they do 4, 5, 6 things depending on what your plan needs. Then they reevaluate you every couple of weeks. Just last week, I went through another evaluation, and that's why we moved on to the next step with what's going on with my left knee and the knee brace I'm going to tell you about in just a second. So check them out, balancewellspace.com, because then when they come back and they review you, they will make those changes. They will adjust. When's the last time your medical team, all the doctors that you're visiting for the number of issues that you deal with, talked about you? Never. They don't. That's the difference. Plus, they're saving all that extra drive time and appointment time, not waiting out in the lobby and everything else, because it's a one-stop shop that can do all of it for you. I got this really, really cool knee brace. My left knee, I'm missing most of the meniscus in my left knee. I've known about this for years. I've had problems going up and down stairs. I've had to turn myself sideways as I'm going up and down carrying laundry baskets that are really full. I got 6 people in the house. Laundry baskets are really heavy. And you know, kids, they don't empty them any regular. No, I've got stuff stacked 5 feet above the top of the basket. So things are heavy. And I was worried about what was happening and was I going to fall down the stairs one day. Literally, I felt one time, I'm going to tumble. What am I going to do here? Now, I got this knee brace. They've been working on traction. They've been working on rehabilitation. We've been doing exercises with it and trigger point injections. Now I'm at the point where I got my fancy knee brace and we're shooting stem cells and stuff in there. So I'm regrowing portions of my meniscus. This knee brace realigns my tibia and fibia along with my femur because they were out of whack. They were tilted. That's part of what was causing my knee pain and giving me the lack of stability. Also, this thing has a ratchet on it, so it's slowly separating my knee joint, allowing more space for my new meniscus to grow. That's crazy sort of sci-fi stuff. That's things when we were kids was on like Star Trek or, Star Wars, and Jeff doesn't know what I'm talking about right now, but that's okay. This really is next level therapy, care, and medical procedures. They are at the cutting edge of everything going on, and they can make it available to you. But before that happens, you got to contact them. balancewellspace.com. balancewellspace.com. I want them to make the difference in your life that they are making in mine. Talk to the team that I trust. Contact them at balancewellspace.com, balancewellspace.com. Tell me you heard about them here on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Great to hear you getting the service you need, Billy. We'll continue this conversation. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS. My knee brace is so cool.
Dry and hotter today on this Wednesday, August 28th, 93 degrees, then 85, then 90. Oh, enjoy it while you can.
So hot.
Because you know that by mid-September and early October, it's going to start to get
That's my favorite time.
No,
yes, my favorite. It is fantastic.
Really?
Oh, Colorado is absolutely spectacular. It's gorgeous, and the weather is perfect.
I want to
live
live wherever this weather is year-round.
I'm way too sticky and sweaty in places I shouldn't be. Can I say that on the air? I guess I did.
Well, we had an absolutely fantastic show. If you missed any of it, we got into Trump and his commitment to the sanctity of life. Is it changing? Is he getting squishy on it? We played some quotes from his March for Life speech, where he is out there defending every person is worth protecting. We are going to defend this truth across the land. And then maybe California can do what they want, and I'll veto a national abortion ban. What is happening there? Rose Puglisi joined us in the 7 o'clock hour, Paul Lundeen in the 9 o'clock hour. So we got the top Republicans down there. And then Billy and I had quite a debate with Aaron Lee about LGBTQ and school curriculum.
Oh, and it's a fascinating debate. It's really good. Go back and check it out. 8 o'clock
Great
hour.
show.
Yeah.
If you missed the show, check out the podcast. 710 KNUS is the website. You've been listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS. And we appreciate the time you spend with us every morning. Thanks. Have a good day.